Chapter 1396. By the time Wang Sheng jumped into the water, Aki and Song Yin had already led their men to the formation that Wang Sheng had used to enter the underground tunnel. All the traces that Wang Sheng had left behind disappeared here. Further ahead, Aki searched for a few hundred meters but did not find a single trace. The people from the Song family also searched inch by inch, but they still didn't find anything. Could it be that this was Wang Sheng's main point? Achi had a vague guess in his heart. But what about Wang Shengren? After closing her eyes and pondering for a while, Aki suddenly asked Song Yin, "This was originally the bottom of a lake?" Aki's cultivation was low, only at the 6th stage. She could not enter the core area of the ground of 1,000 despair, nor could she see what the glacier basin looked like. So she could not be sure that this was the bottom of the lake. "That's right," Song Yin answered with certainty. "I saw it with my own eyes. Everyone here has seen it with their own eyes." With this answer, Aki no longer had any doubts. She squatted down and began to dig the ground. Everyone was stunned. Song Yin seemed to have thought of something and looked around. Finally, she noticed the traces of water and immediately understood what was going on. "Help!" At Song Yin's command, the experts of the Song family immediately helped Aki to dig quickly. In just a short while, the silt had been dug down to a depth of 3 meters. There was no more silt, only a transparent barrier. Achi casually took out a water bag from his storage ring and poured it down. The water easily flowed into the transparent barrier, but anything else he took out was on top of the barrier and could not penetrate at all. At this moment, everyone understood what this place was. This barrier was obviously a formation. It could allow water to flow down, but it blocked the silt, forming a place that no one could see through. There were no traces of Wang Sheng at this point. Needless to say, Wang Sheng must have gone down from here. When Song Yin thought about how there might be a huge hole down there, where the water level of several hundred li of the lake could reach a height of several dozen meters in just a day, she felt a little excited. Aki wasn't as excited as Song Yin. She simply asked, "Who has the highest attainment in formations?" She couldn't deal with such a formation, so she could only rely on the Song clan's formation experts. There was no need for Achi to call out anymore. 3 array masters had already rushed forward. After a careful look, they immediately called out to the other experts of the Song family to sweep away all the mud on the ground in order to reveal the full appearance of the array. However, when everyone started to take action, they realized that the scale of the formation was completely beyond their expectations. Dozens of people cleared the area for a long time, but they had only cleared an area of several hundred feet. They hadn't even touched the edge of the formation. "Who is it?" One of the legendary experts besides Song Yin suddenly shouted at the surrounding area. All the Song clan disciples who were digging immediately stopped what they were doing and took out their weapons. "First Miss Song is really in a good mood." A sudden voice cut in. A team of 300 to 400 people suddenly appeared on the line of defense that everyone had rushed over. The few people leading the team were the elders of the other 7 clans. Needless to say, the Song clan's large-scale operation must have fallen into the eyes of the other clans. At this time, Song Yin, who had the closest relationship with Wang Sheng, must have been taken care of by many parties. There must have been more than one pair of eyes watching the Song clan. Everyone went down to the bottom of the glacier lake. Any master who could come here could hide on the cliff by the lake and see the movements of the team. It was no surprise that they were discovered and chased. Such a large team couldn't have left only a small trace like Wang Sheng. Except for Aki, everyone's footprints were more than half an inch deep into the soil. It was impossible to escape the pursuit of those who came after them. "We found the important entrance." Faced with such a situation, Song Yuhan didn't panic at all. She just said indifferently, "If everyone is interested, then open this entrance together." Thinking that it was impossible to monopolize it, Song Yin immediately made a decision. If they couldn't monopolize it, then they would share it to a certain extent. However, the Song clan had to take the initiative and take the biggest share. "Of course, we are duty-bound." When the Dai clan elder heard Song Yan's words, he immediately climbed up the pole and quickly ordered, "Dai clan disciples, what are you waiting for?" A group of Dai clan experts immediately rushed into the Song clan's crowd and began to help with smiles on their faces. With so many experts gathered together, even if the Song clan wanted to make a move, they probably wouldn't dare to provoke the other 7 clans. When the other family members saw this, how could they not understand the logic of looting a burning house? They didn't care about anything else and mixed in. What was done was done. Song Yin couldn't help but nod. Go help, go help. The elders of several families shouted, and hundreds of experts rushed into the crowd, completely separating the people of the Song family. Without batting an eyelid, Song Yin walked to Seven's side. The 2 maids and 2 guards didn't say anything and pretended to protect Aki in the middle as if nothing had happened. Aki was the real killing weapon, and they had to protect her no matter what. The more people there were, the easier it was. The 500-meter array was finally cleared by everyone's collective efforts. More than 400 people stood on the transparent barrier and looked down. They were all surprised. The array experts brought by the various clans had already begun to study and observe in every corner, trying to find the flaws of this array. It had to be said that there were still many experts from all sides. After so many people's research, they finally found a weak point of the array. It was definitely impossible to break the array perfectly in a short period of time. They could only find the weak point and then attack it crazily. The moment the array was broken, they could rush in. Back in the underground palace, Bao Qing Yutang's experts used this method to break the alchemy room. However, there was a dispute about who would go first and who would go last. Since we're going together, everyone should know who's in charge. Song Yin stood up and said, justifiably, "My Song clan was the first to discover this place, so the Song clan is in charge here. Does anyone have any objections?" The elders of the other clans looked at each other and quickly exchanged glances. Then they all nodded. If the Song clan wanted to be in charge, then so be it. In any case, the path ahead would definitely follow the Song clan's pace. It was fine as long as the Song clan didn't abandon them. If that's the case, then listen to me. Song Yin did not hesitate to take over the deployment and began to give orders. Those who should attack and those who should wait for an opportunity to enter the array were quickly assigned by Song Yin. Song Yin didn't feel that it was unfair. There were people from all clans, and the other clans didn't feel that it was unacceptable. They all obediently followed her orders under the hint of their elders. After attacking the array a few times, all parties discovered an important phenomenon. Legendary experts couldn't enter the array no matter what. Chapter 1397. Song Yan's arrangement left everyone speechless. The other families went in first, with the Song family in the middle and a few more families behind them. In this way, Song Yin made it clear that she would not secretly do anything, and the other families were assured. The families sent out people to lead the way would naturally choose experts with high cultivation and combat power to go in case they were ambushed by something inside. However, such an unexpected choice that no one was aware of had met with trouble. Legendary experts were definitely the first choice of the families, including the Song family. However, after everyone worked together to attack the formation, when the first expert wanted to rush into the gap of the formation, he was attacked by the formation. Hong hong hong. The sudden attack caused everyone to turn pale with fright. Fortunately, the first expert who wanted to go in had a high cultivation and was very vigilant. When he discovered the situation, he reacted in time and was not hurt by the array. This obviously couldn't have been arranged by Song Yin. When the families arrived, the Song family's people had not even dug up the array, not to mention studying the weak points of the array. It was the same for 2 experts in a row. Song Yin seemed to recall what Wang Sheng said. This time, he asked the Feng family to send a 9th-stage realm expert to go in. Everyone worked together to attack the array once again, and that 9th-stage realm expert also took the opportunity to rush into the gap of the array. This time, that familiar array attack didn't appear, and that 9th-stage realm expert easily entered the gap of the array and fell into the bottom. They tried another 2 9th-stage realm top exponents, and both of them successfully entered. If it was a legendary realm expert, he would immediately be attacked by the array. After a few rounds, even a fool could tell that this array restricted cultivation. Only those in the ninth stage realm and below could enter. Legendary realm cultivators were not allowed to enter. This time, the families were dumbfounded. Among the hundreds of experts they brought, the majority were in the legendary realm. Ninth stage realm experts were basically here to do odd jobs, but now they were to become the main force of the expedition. Wasn't this a little too much? What should they do? The elders were completely speechless. These elders had followed the trend and came to the capital to advance to the legendary realm. But now it was blocked outside. On the contrary, Miss Song's cultivation was not adept enough. She had just rushed to the ninth stage realm, so there was no need to worry about this. The few elders had an urgent discussion and immediately decided to postpone it for a day and immediately return to their respective families to dispatch ninth stage realm top exponents over. Because of this, everyone had to wait here for a day. Song family didn't have the upper hand now, and moreover, Song family needed to deploy a batch of ninth stage realm top exponents over, so they readily agreed to the requests of the various families. Once again, he sent a ninth stage realm disciple into the array, telling those who were already inside to wait for a day's time. Actually, I didn't need to inform them. Those people below could see the experts above the transparent barrier when they raised their heads. They also knew that there wasn't a conflict and were happily waiting below. Every family had no choice but to delay for a day, and this day was enough for Wang Sheng to travel 100 miles in the underground river. Diving into the underground river, Wang Sheng, fully equipped, moved forward. Fortunately, the lake water was formed by the melting ice and snow of the glacier basin. There were no living creatures in the water, or rather, there were no dangerous goods in the water. It posed no threat to Wang Sheng at all. Some parts of the underground river were submerged, but at least a quarter of it was exposed in some large karst caves. Wang Sheng would occasionally pop his head out of the water and take a rest and check the area in these large karst caves. Along the way, Wang Sheng had to carefully sense the surroundings to search if there was any lava or similar array energy source, so his speed was relatively slower. After a day, he had only swum 100 miles. As a sniper, Wang Sheng had a good habit of identifying the direction and recording the route at any time. Coupled with his battle awareness and the little man's sensing ability, he could easily locate his location underground. Now Wang Sheng was still several tens of miles away from the core region, but Wang Sheng had already sensed that there was a large area of underground lava in front of him. Ever since Wang Sheng discovered the underground palace, Wang Sheng knew that there was definitely more than one place in the grounds of Thousand Despair where there was lava. Generally speaking, as long as there was such a volcanic crater or similar lava river, there would definitely be another area nearby. Previously, when he didn't find a second place outside, Wang Sheng concluded that it must be in the core region. Now that he sensed the wide range of lava lake in front of him, Wang Sheng could finally heave a sigh of relief. Finally, there was an explanation for the huge energy source of the formation. Only such a huge underground lava lake could have enough energy to maintain the unique climate in the core of the grounds of Thousand Despair for hundreds of miles. Only such a terrifying ceiling formation could be maintained, and only such a powerful super demon beast could be restrained. Wang Sheng was currently in a large karst cave, and the underground river was not far from him. But when the underground river reached here, it basically began to flow down in another direction instead of rushing towards the huge lava lake. Sometimes, Wang Sheng would really sigh with emotion. The lands of Thousand Extremities was truly a magical place that left one speechless. There was a huge underground lava lake, a glacier basin, a tropical rainforest, and countless other terrains that could only be formed under certain extreme conditions were actually found in the grounds of Thousand Despair. What shocked Wang Sheng even more was that the entire glacier basin at the core of the grounds of Thousand Despair was actually a flat plain. Then, for some unknown reason, it collapsed into a basin. Under the powerful effect of the array, the climate was changed. After a whole 500 years of freezing, the glacier basin had turned into a huge block of ice. The current water in the underground river was actually water vapor that that had been stabilized by the array for 500 years. Wang Sheng also felt a little lucky that the water had changed its course here. Otherwise, if such a large amount of water had rushed into the lava lake, it would definitely have caused a catastrophic change. After resting for a while, Wang Sheng began to search the karst cave. The river had changed its course, so they definitely couldn't go down the underground river anymore. Hopefully, there was a passage to the lava lake here. Otherwise, Wang Sheng would probably have to consider using a hammer or chisel to carve a path. There must be a passage, but he didn't know where it was. Otherwise, how could the people who had set up the array enter the lava lake to set up the array? Wang Sheng searched very carefully, but no matter how much Wang Sheng used the 9 secret words, he couldn't find a single passage that led to the lava lake. What he could be sure of was that this was definitely not the area where the people who had set up the array had passed through. There was no other way. After carefully inspecting the area, Wang Sheng finally made a decision. He found a direction closest to the lava lake, took out a hammer and chisel, and prepared to carve a passage. This place was filled with volcanic rocks, so the texture was relatively soft. He believed that it wouldn't take too long. Chapter 1398. The various top exponents at the back wasted an entire day's time before they managed to reorganize a batch of 9th stage realm top exponents to enter the underground tunnel. The underground tunnel had only been washed by water once, and the silt which was formed wasn't thick, so the traces which Wang Sheng left behind were very clear. Before the various 9th stage realm top exponents came down, those who had entered earlier had already carried torches and explored a few miles. But facing the traces left behind by Wang Sheng's snowmobile, these few top exponents couldn't figure out what kind of transportation tool Wang Sheng had used to walk on the silt. Luckily, after such a long period of time, even the silt in the underground tunnel had almost dried up, so it didn't hinder these top exponents' movements at all. As Song Yan's cultivation was at 9th stage realm, she naturally became the leader of the team. The other elders from the various families couldn't come down because their cultivations were too high and there wasn't anyone who could match Song Yan's cultivation and status in the various families' campsites, so they could only instruct their own top exponents to listen to Song Yan's commands under the condition that it didn't infringe on their own family's interests. This time round, Song Yan had legitimately obtained the authority to command over 300 over 9th stage realm top exponents. Moreover, she had brought along the top exponents from various families, giving off an air of disobeying the monarch's orders. Underground, the minute Song Yin and the others came down, the top exponents who had come down earlier reported the results of their investigations. An empty underground tunnel with obvious traces of movement. What else was there to say? They could just follow along. Simply following the traces which Wang Sheng had explored was much faster than Wang Sheng, who had to check and explore the way alone. Wang Sheng used a total of 5 days to reach the underground river, whereas Song Yin and the others only used 1 day to reach the place where Wang Sheng had entered the water. All the traces of movement had disappeared without a trace when they reached this place, and there were no other obvious signs. A group of 9th stage realm top exponents searched nearby for an hour, but didn't discover any traces at all. When Wang Sheng reached here, it seemed as though he had suddenly disappeared. He didn't disappear. Aki's voice rang in Song Yan's ears. He just left by water. Not far ahead of the underground river was a submerged area. Everyone knew that there must be a river inside, but no one knew where it led to or if there was any danger inside. Everyone looked at the underground river and looked at each other in dismay. Everyone turned to look at Song Yin. Song Yin was the commander, so she naturally had to make the decision. Song Yin, on the other hand, didn't care about the gazes. She asked Aki, "Are you sure?" In fact, this question was nonsense. What Song Yin really wanted to ask was whether Aki could sense Wang Sheng's location. Over there, Aki clearly understood what Song Yin was thinking. She didn't care whether the people around her could understand her or not. She pointed in a certain direction and said with certainty. Among a group of 9th stage realm top exponents, there was a 6th stage realm junior. Aki was as bright as a firefly in the dark night. Originally, the top exponents were puzzled as to why they brought Aki along. Now that Aki had opened her mouth, The smart ones immediately realized that Aki definitely had a way to track Wang Sheng's location. As for what the method was, no one wanted to find out. Many of them knew that different original spirits had different marvelous points. Even if it was the same type of original spirit, it would develop in different directions depending on the person's cultivation method or individual's difference. No one could be envious of that. The most important thing was that Aki could track Wang Sheng, wasn't it? Enter the water? Everyone's hearts were filled with apprehension. It wasn't that they were afraid of what was in the water. Everyone knew where the water in the underground river came from. As long as they had enough patience, after a period of time, when the glacial lake water had dried up, the river would naturally be emptied. But weren't they tracking Wangxing now? They had finally found the top secret of the 1,000 despair grounds. Who could bear with it? Go into the water, Song Yin decisively instructed. Since there's a submerged river here, then there must be other places. Everyone be careful. It's best if a few people use a rope to link together so that we can take care of each other. No one retreated, so they could only move forward. Song Yan's idea was indeed a good one. If they were to link together, at least they wouldn't be completely annihilated in the water and wouldn't be separated. But there was still a risk. Who knew how long the submerged river was, and if they couldn't hold on? Aki gave Song Yin a puzzled look. Song Yin instantly understood. Wang Sheng definitely had a way to breathe in the water, and this method might even be known by Aki. It would allow Wang Sheng and Aki to stay in the water for a long period of time. But this didn't mean that everyone could stay in the water for a long period of time. At this moment, Song Yin needed to make a decision. Should they sacrifice some people from the other families, or should they do it together? Song Yin hesitated for a moment and made a decision. Everyone, think of a way to breathe underwater for a few more times. It's hard to guarantee that you can stay in the water for a long period of time. Not everyone had Wang Sheng's compressed air cylinder, but there were many unconventional methods. For example, some demonic beast urinals could bring more than 10 mouthfuls of breathable air. These were all 9th degree realm experts. More than 10 mouthfuls of air was enough for them to stay in the water for more than an hour. After Song Yin gave the order, she waited for a quarter of an hour for everyone to get ready. Then, together with Aki, she took the lead and jumped into the underground river hand in hand. Behind them, hundreds of 9th degree realm experts jumped in one after another without any hesitation. This space was restored to complete darkness in no time. Wang Sheng had already opened up a 100-feet-long tunnel. With Wang Sheng's strength and his current proficiency in carving, a mere volcanic rock was nothing to him. In actual fact, what really wasted time was Wang Sheng going back and forth to transport the volcanic rock out, not the excavation itself. After digging for an entire day and night, when one of Wang Sheng's hammers landed, the chisel in his hand lightened and it had already penetrated through the stone wall. Wang Sheng was overjoyed and couldn't be bothered about anything else. He kept his hammer and chisel and exerted his strength. His shoulder leaned forward and a 3 inches thick volcanic rock wall broke apart. Wang Sheng's figure also rushed out. The figure who rushed out was extremely cautious. Wang Sheng only took 2 steps forward before he steadied his body. Following that, he looked at the scene in front of him and heaved a long sigh. A huge lava lake, just like what Wang Sheng sensed earlier. Looking at it, it was a patch of dark red. The place where Wang Sheng was standing was a piece of solidified volcanic rock. Luckily, Wang Sheng didn't continue to rush forward. Otherwise, if he took another 2 steps forward, he would be in the flowing lava lake. In this karst cave, the smell was extremely pungent and the temperature was shocking. Just standing here for a while, and Wang Sheng was already covered in sweat. The minute he thought that above the lava lake was a frozen region, Wang Sheng couldn't help but exclaim in admiration that this array was indeed a work of God. Chapter 1399. Such a large magma lake with a radius of dozens of miles was, of course, not all of it was magma. In this area, there was a large number of irregular stone pillars, which supported the magma lake and the cave space of dozens of miles. Under each stalactite pillar, there was a small piece of normal limestone that had not melted. From Wang Sheng's perspective, That small piece of normal place was clearly a foothold prepared for himself. He could run all the way to the center of the magma lake along the location of these pillars. Wang Sheng had already practiced running on magma when he was in the underground palace. At that time, he was still carrying Mei Er. Of course, it was not a problem to use the same trick again. However, wouldn't it be too slow to run across dozens of miles of magma lake one by one like this? Moreover, the temperature here was so high, and there were so many poisonous gases in the air. If Wang Sheng still used that method of running, there would definitely be something wrong. Of course, this was not a problem for Wang Sheng, since Wang Sheng had already guessed that the energy source of Eternal must be the underground magma. How could he not make preparations? It was still a snowmobile, but the tracks were slightly modified. It was still the metal tracks, but the tracks were made thicker and hollow. Wang Sheng had already filled the hollow tracks with water. These tracks would directly contact the magma and provide the snowmobile with power. Because they were tracks, it would not sink in the snow, and it would not sink in the magma that was as dense as stone. It could move very smoothly. The high temperature of the magma would pass through the metal tracks and transfer the heat to the water in the hollow tracks. The tracks would not boil in the magma for a short period of time. When the temperature of the water reached a certain level, Wang Sheng could feel it. At this time, Wang Sheng had to control the storage ring on his body to extract hot water from the tracks, and then put cold water in to cool the tracks. This was to ensure that the temperature of the tracks would not exceed 100 degrees, so that they could continue to move forward. The speed of the snowmobile was much longer than Wang Sheng's simple running, and it could directly rush into the center of the magma lake without stopping. Even if he discovered that something was amiss, he would be able to rush out in time. After resting for a while, Wang Sheng tidied up his equipment and drove the snowmobile into the lava lake. The lava lake was dozens of miles wide, so it was impossible for every spot to be the energy source of the array formation. Also, it was not necessary to be at the center to be the energy source. Therefore, Wang Sheng could only circle around the lava lake and carefully examine every spot to find the energy source. In the beginning, Wang Sheng would definitely observe the situation first. The temperature here was high, and there were many poisonous gases. Wang Sheng had to use a compressed air cylinder to maintain his breathing. Under such high temperature conditions, it was not easy to sense the fluctuations of the array formation. Wang Sheng spent a few hours walking around the magma lake, but he didn't find anything special. Most of the water he brought with him had already been heated up. Wang Sheng had no choice but to rush out of the magma lake. He followed the tunnel he dug out and returned to the underground river to change the water. At the same time, while waiting for the tracks to cool down, he pondered again. The array formation needed magma as an energy source, but it was impossible to set up the array formation in the magma without any connection to the array formation above. In this case, Wang Sheng could actually eliminate most of the magma areas. He just needed to check the stone pillars connected to the top or the edge of the magma lake, which was the key to connect to the area above. After redetermining the target, Wang Sheng took a short rest. After leaving something by the underground river outside, he entered the magma lake again. With a target, it was much easier to check again. This time, Wang Sheng didn't use the snowmobile again. Anyway, he had to check those stone pillars. Wang Sheng simply ran one stone pillar at a time. Such close and direct contact made it easier for Wang Sheng to determine whether the stone pillars were the energy source of the array formation. However, this was not an easy task. There were at least thousands of stone pillars as far as the eye could see. Wang Sheng needed to determine one by one. Most importantly, the array formation above with a radius of dozens of miles was likely to provide energy in more than one place. Wang Sheng needed to find all of them before he could decide how to deal with them. It didn't take long for Wang Sheng to find a stone pillar that was different from the others. In the limestone below, there was a hidden array formation that extended into the magma lake. The array formation was also covered with a layer of limestone as a cover. After so many years of baking at high temperatures, the disguised limestone had also been melted together. If it weren't for the effect of Wang Sheng's Xing character formula, he might not have found it at all. There was also an array formation inside the stone pillar. This also happened to be in line with Wang Sheng's judgment. The stone pillar must be a passage connecting up and down. It was easy to find one. He just needed to find the others according to the same characteristics. In more than a day, Wang Sheng found more than 100 stone pillars, all of which were energy passages. The position of each stone pillar was quickly and accurately marked on a piece of animal skin by Wang Sheng. Anyway, there were so many stone pillars here. As long as he found a few stone pillars from the first place he came in as a reference, he could determine the relative position of each pillar. These stone pillars were marked one by one. Wang Sheng found a small secret. It seemed that the distribution of these stone pillars corresponded to the distribution of the array formation at the bottom of the lake above. In other words, there were 25 ceiling points at the bottom of the lake above, and there were 25 corresponding distributed stone pillars below to provide energy. Although the number of stone pillars Wang Sheng had found was not complete, just the ones he had found, the areas where they were concentrated and their relative positions were enough to prove his point. After realizing that, Wang Sheng heaved a long sigh of relief. As for the other ceiling points, Wang Sheng could completely ignore them. He just needed to find the area where the girl in the dream was sealed. To be on the safe side, Wang Sheng spent another 2 days to determine the relative position of the ceiling formation for the girl in the dream. He carefully searched the relative position for a full 2 days, confirming that there were only 108 stone pillars in this area that were connected to the formation. Only then did he reveal a smile. While Wang Sheng was looking for the stone pillars, Song Yin and Aki had already led the experts to search along the underground river. During this time, at least 40 experts could not survive in the areas that required them to dive for a long time and were forever left in the underground river. Every time they came to an area that was not submerged, they would search to make sure that it was not the place that Wang Sheng had passed through. "It's here." When Song Yin and Aki came ashore and saw the large pile of limestone that Wang Sheng had dug out, Song Yin could already confirm it without Aki's confirmation. Chapter 1400. For no rhyme or reason, there was a huge pile of limestone fragments on the ground. How would the top exponents who came ashore not know what had happened? Very quickly, the tunnel which Wang Sheng had dug out was found by the crowd. But at the entrance of the tunnel, the group of top exponents looked at each other and no one dared to rush in. There was no other reason. This tunnel was only big enough for one person to enter and exit. The space was too small, and once they entered, they probably wouldn't even be able to do the most basic dodging, and the minute they met with an attack, they would definitely die. The person they wanted to track was Wang Sheng. Wang Sheng was someone who could kill a 9th stage realm peak expert face-to-face. If you were to sneak an attack from inside, who would be able to avoid it? Aki looked at the crowd's reaction and shook her head directly. After bidding farewell to Song Yin, she walked directly into the tunnel. The group of top exponents all blushed. 9th stage realm exponents didn't dare to enter, but a 6th stage realm junior was hesitating and retreating, which made one feel ashamed. The tunnel wasn't long at all. According to the journey which they had been following, a mere 200 over feet was just a drop in the ocean. Other than Aki and Song Yin, the group of top exponents lined up and entered the tunnel cautiously, as though they were prepared to be ambushed at any moment. Alas, their vigilance was in vain. From the start to the end, there wasn't a single attack, and no one else appeared. Aki and Song Yin understood Wang Sheng, especially Aki. She could clearly sense that Wang Sheng was just 10 over miles away, so how could he possibly ambush them here? "Stop!" Aki, who was right in front, suddenly gave a warning, and all the top exponents in the tunnel stopped in unison. "What's the matter?" The top exponents who were following closely behind Aki had already assumed a vigilant stance as they held their weapons in their hands and asked anxiously, "Be careful, there's no more space." Aki took a step forward and then took a step to the side, giving way to the tunnel entrance. The experts following closely behind immediately saw the huge magma lake. Of course, they also saw the narrow ground under Aki's feet that could only fit 5 people. This time, he immediately understood what Aki meant. There was really no more space. In the huge magma lake before them, apart from the slowly flowing fiery red magma, the pungent smell, and the unbearably hot temperature, there was not even a shadow of their target, Wang Sheng. Did we go the wrong way? The expert who was following closely behind also took a few steps forward, making way for the third person to catch up. The third expert was also dumbfounded and directly asked Aki. Aki just looked at him with disdain and didn't bother to answer. The third expert awkwardly took 2 steps forward and gave up his position. The fourth expert also followed and stared at the scene with his mouth agape. The people at the back didn't know what had happened. The people in front had stopped, making a group of people stay in a narrow tunnel. Many of them were extremely nervous. Luckily, news came from the front very quickly that they had already exited the tunnel. But there was a huge magma lake outside the tunnel, and not many people could stand there. The experts from the other families who followed and were all dumbfounded, except for the experts from the Song family. That year when they were fighting for the elixir, the 2 9th-stage realm expert from the Song family had seen with their own eyes how Wang Sheng carried a person and ran on the magma. Even if there was magma in front, it couldn't possibly stop Wang Sheng's footsteps. Aki also knew how to run on the magma. This was what Wang Sheng had taught her the last time they were in Carefree City. After a little preparation, Aki saw the 3 experts who came out from behind. None of them were from the Song family, and all of them had a surprised look on their faces. She sneered in her heart. "I'll go check the path." When Aki's feet were running, she didn't forget to leave a message for the few experts behind, and in a blink of an eye, she had already dashed to a pillar 10 feet away. How was that possible? The few experts were still in shock about what Aki meant by checking the path when they suddenly saw Aki running on the magma, as though she was running on flat ground. The scene of her sinking into the magma and burning up didn't happen, and they couldn't help but stare with their eyes wide open. The expert beside Aki immediately wanted to learn from her and follow Aki to dash out. 6th-stage realm Aki could do it, so as 9th-stage realm experts, they couldn't do it? The idea wasn't bad, but he just dashed out 2 steps when his boots started to emit flames. This scene made him panic, and his speed was immediately affected. Luckily, he was after all a 9th-stage realm expert, and even under such a situation, he only panicked for a moment and immediately regained his composure. Disregarding the flames beneath his feet, he directly dashed towards the stone pillar which Aki had left from. By the time he reached the bottom of the stone pillar, the expert's boots and trousers were already on fire. After he extinguished the flames in a flurry, he raised his feet to take a look. A large part of his boots had already been burnt, and the remaining part had become extremely soft. Looking at this situation, if he were to run another 3 to 4 rounds, at most 5 rounds, his boots would probably be burnt to ashes. Standing alone under the stone pillar, the expert who had dashed out looked at his companions who were following behind him as his face revealed a helpless expression. At this moment, Aki had already dashed past at least 10 stone pillars, and she was already 200 feet away. She had no intention to stop and wait for others, as she directly dashed towards Wang Sheng's position according to the direction which she had determined. By the time Song Yin received the news in the middle and decisively ordered everyone to retreat out of the tunnel, while she rushed to the front to take a look, Aki had already disappeared. And this was already half an hour later. Damn it, Song Yin cursed in her heart, not knowing if she was cursing Aki or herself. However, Aki's action also made Song Yin certain that Wang Sheng should not be far ahead. Teach everyone how to cross the magma safely. Song Yin decisively gave the order, and then she took the lead according to her own expert's description and the method which Wang Sheng had explained to her, following the trail which Aki had left behind, speedily chasing after him. By now, Wang Sheng had already marked out the 108 stone pillars and was contemplating on how to destroy this energy source array when he suddenly sensed something. Turning his head, Wang Sheng saw Aki flying over. Standing still, Wang Sheng stretched out his hand, and Aki directly rushed into Wang Sheng's embrace. She hugged Wang Sheng tightly, unwilling to let go even if she died. "I knew that the only one who could catch up to me would definitely be you," Wang Sheng said with a smile as he hugged Aki. Chapter 14:01. Aki was really delighted in her heart. After experiencing so many things for so many days, she had finally returned to Wang Sheng's side, especially when she left under Song Yan's eyelids. Taking the first step to find Wang Sheng, to be able to warn Wang Sheng in advance, was exactly what Aki wished for. There are a lot of people behind. All of them are in the ninth stage realm, and all of them harbor ill intentions towards you. Aki enjoyed the warmth in Wang Sheng's embrace and hurriedly reminded Wang Sheng, Song Yan is leading the team. Originally, there was only Song family, but later on, when they entered the underground passageway array, they were chased up by the other clans. All 8 large clans have a part in it, adding up to 300 over people. I know. Wang Sheng smiled, extremely satisfied with Aki's camaraderie. She was able to take the risk of dying under the heavy guard of so many 9th stage realm top experts to find him and report this news to him. This already explained everything. You're not leaving? Aki was very surprised by Wang Sheng's attitude. She told Wang Sheng all these, hoping that Wang Sheng would be able to leave in advance. But Wang Sheng didn't seem to have any intention to leave, which made Aki very surprised. I still have some things to do. Wang Sheng told Aki his own intentions very smoothly. I might even need to borrow the strength of a group of top experts to complete it, so I will not leave temporarily. Am I being a busybody? Aki was slightly disheartened. She had worked so hard to rush over, but in the end, it seemed to be unnecessary. Aki's enthusiasm was suddenly splashed with a ladle of cold water. If it wasn't for you, how long would those idiots take to find this place? Wang Sheng smiled as he comforted Aki. You've helped a lot. Other than that, there's one more thing I need you to do now. What's the matter? Hearing that Wang Sheng needed her help, Aki immediately lit up with enthusiasm once again. Right now, Aki seemed to be living only for Wang Sheng. Wang Sheng needed her, and that was the greatest meaning of Aki's life. As you can see, I forcefully broke through the stone walls to enter. Wang Sheng pointed in the direction of the passageway. Truth be told, there should be a passageway here, but I have yet to find it. I hope you can find it now. Find this path. Perhaps this path is the way out of here. I'll go look for it now. Aki replied without hesitation and was about to turn around and leave. Aki, I hope you understand. Wang Sheng held Aki's hand. Aki turned to look at Wang Sheng, quietly waiting for Wang Sheng's instructions. This path is likely to determine whether we can survive or not. Wang Sheng was not afraid of saying it cautiously. He solemnly said to Aki, the original master disguised himself very well, and I didn't have the time to find him. Don't worry. At this moment, Aki's heart was filled with the passion to repay Wang Sheng. She almost swore, I will definitely find him. Be careful, don't let them find you. Wang Sheng exhorted again. Aki left Wang Sheng with a heart full of warmth and happiness. To be able to do something for Wang Sheng, and it was such an important thing, was enough to make every cell in Aki's body tremble with passion. Then, she would do it with 500% of her enthusiasm. Not only should she carefully look for the entrance and exit, but she must find it. This was what Aki thought in her heart. Now, she really only lived for Wang Sheng. What Wang Sheng needed her to do was the greatest meaning of her life. Aki was an assassin who was best at tracking, so finding these hidden entrances and exits was sometimes more advantageous than Wang Sheng. At this moment, if he didn't let Aki do something, he was afraid that Aki would go crazy. Soon, Achi disappeared from Wang Sheng's sight as she ran. She would diligently search for the entrance that should have been there in the first place. Of course, Wang Sheng was not perfunctory with Aki, but he really needed the entrance and exit. Originally, Wang Sheng planned to send off the girl of his dreams quietly by himself. However, after finding this place, Wang Sheng realized that it might not be so easy. After all, he was alone. In the face of such a huge formation that could borrow the power of nature, Wang Sheng was afraid that it would be beyond his power. Song Yin and the others, who followed later, also happened to be Wang Sheng's help. The moment he saw Aki, Wang Sheng was a little angry, feeling that those guys had ruined his original intention of quietly sending off the girl of his dreams. However, on second thought, with their help, They could also speed up Wang Sheng's pace, so that the girl of his dreams would suffer less and be freed quickly. Anyway, he was already here, and the energy source formation had been found. All Wang Sheng needed to do was to destroy these formations. It was better to have more people. As he waited quietly, Wang Sheng soon heard the sounds of the flustered and exasperated experts running over the magma from afar. The expert at the front was in a hurry. When he suddenly saw Wang Sheng's figure behind the stone pillar, he jumped in fright and hurriedly stopped in his tracks. However, he forgot that he was standing on the magma lake. When the flames on his feet rose, he realized that something was wrong. He hurriedly took a few steps back, retreated to the side of the previous stone pillar, and hurriedly put out the flames on his feet. More and more people followed behind, occupying the small space around the surrounding stone pillars and surrounding Wang Sheng from all directions. Song Yin was in the middle of the group. When she ran over, she just happened to see Wang Sheng draw an obvious mark on the side of the stone pillar he was at. "You're here?" Wang Sheng turned around, looked at Song Yin, and asked with a smile. "I'm here," Song Yin replied with a complicated look in her eyes. "Do these people listen to your commands?" Wang Sheng asked, pointing at the people around him. "They have already reached an agreement with me." Song Yin did not directly give an answer, but her words were enough to show that she could control these experts. In the hearts of the higher-ups of the families who really knew some of the secrets of the land of Thousand Despair, Wang Sheng's goal was the same as theirs. There was no need to fall out with Wang Sheng at this time. Even if they caught up to Wang Sheng, their goal was not to stop Wang Sheng, but to wait for Wang Sheng to break the seal first. One formation expert and one person will form a group. The other three will form a group. Come to the stone pillar I marked and wait for my command. Wang Sheng did not mind at all that so many people were looking at him strangely. He just gave an order to Song Yin. "When you hear my signal, use all your strength to attack the stone pillars at the same time. Break all the formations on the stone pillars." Everyone's eyes immediately turned to Song Yin. Song Yin was the leader and also the one who was elected by the families to be the commander in this kind of situation. Naturally, she was the leader. "Do as I say." Song Yin immediately gave the order without hesitation. She sprinted to Wang Sheng's side, looked left and right, and asked Wang Sheng, "Where's Aki?" Chapter 1402. She wanted to help me find a way out. Wang Sheng did not hide anything from Song Yin. He told her what Aki was doing. He did not forget to explain. There should have been another way out in the first place. There's no need to go back the way we came. Do you not trust me that much? Song Yin looked like she was on the verge of tears. Her eyes reddened as if she had suffered a great injustice. "If I ask you to go back the way you came, how long can you swim against the current in the underground river?" Wang Sheng rolled his eyes at Song Yin. This woman was getting better at acting like a little girl in front of him. She even knew how to pretend to be jealous. Wang Sheng did not believe that Song Yin had not thought about how to get out. Of course, Wang Sheng could do it himself. He had a propeller and a compressed air cylinder. The underground river was not particularly turbulent, so it was not a problem for him to swim against the current. But what about Song Yin and the others? Did they think they could move freely in the underground river with just a few urine bubbles? What a joke. If Wang Sheng could think of this problem, how could Song Yin not? It was not that Wang Sheng was belittling himself. Song Yin was definitely one of the smartest women he had ever met. She was definitely comparable to Her Majesty the Empress and Mayer. She was just using this question to express her dissatisfaction. What she cared about was what she had said. She was afraid that Wang Sheng would not trust her. As the two of them spoke, the experts who had followed Song Yin had found the stone pillars where Wang Sheng had left his mark. They stood in front of the stone pillars, waiting for Wang Sheng's order. There are magic arrays inside and below these stone pillars. Wang Sheng had no choice but to shout out loud so that everyone could hear him. Fortunately, he had the 9 syllables mantra. Even with so many stone pillars blocking the way, his voice could be heard by everyone. "Before we attack, everyone raise your defenses to the maximum." Wang Sheng continued to exhort the others. In truth, even if he did not say anything, those people would have done the same thing. However, saying it would make them feel better. The formation will definitely retaliate, but don't worry. This formation is just an interconnected formation, so the backlash won't be too strong. Formation experts, use the formation to protect yourselves. Don't worry, the counterattack will not be too strong. All of you should be able to resist it with your cultivation. Wang Sheng continued to reassure them. He reiterated that the counterattack would not be too strong. I am also within the formation's range, so you don't have to worry at all. Originally, the experts from the various powers have been on guard. However, when they heard Wang Sheng's final words, they looked at Wang Sheng's position and nodded silently. Wang Sheng's position was in the center of the 108 stone pillars. He was definitely surrounded by a formation. This was the absolute truth. Since Wang Sheng was not afraid of himself, and he was accompanied by the Song clan's eldest daughter, Song Yin, and 4 maids and guards, it was naturally true. If the formation was too strong, then Wang Sheng and the others would not have been able to escape. Stand beside me and don't move. Wang Sheng turned around and warned Song Yin and the 4 maids. He could already sense that everyone was in position. Ready, Wang Sheng shouted. Everyone around the stone pillars raised their defenses to the maximum and began to accumulate spiritual energy. Attack. Following Wang Sheng's order, everyone used their greatest strength and attacked the stone pillars in front of them. Boom, 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 boom. A series of sounds rang out continuously. Although Wang Sheng's orders were given out in a unified manner, there were still some differences in the speed and timing of each person's attacks. Thus, when they attacked the magic arrays, they would be different as well. As a result, although the sounds were continuous, they were not consistent. Fortunately, these differences were not particularly important. A few milliseconds, or even a few seconds, were not a big problem. One after another, the stone pillars began to tremble under the attacks. However, it was obvious that the first attack did not destroy the formation. Of course, there was an effect. The limestone skin that was originally wrapped around the formation had all been smashed, revealing the smooth and round stone pillars inside. What was outside was just a disguise. This was the true appearance of the formation. There were many regular and irregular lines on the stone pillars. At a glance, it was obvious that they were related to the formation. The eyes of the formation experts lit up and they wanted to study it. Unfortunately, the stone pillars had already begun to tremble, and they could not see anything clearly. Continue to attack. Wang Sheng's voice sounded again. Everyone did not hesitate and immediately gathered their strength to attack a second time. This time round, the attacks were not as orderly as before, but the effect was very obvious. After a series of uneven cracking sounds, everyone could see that cracks had already appeared on the stone pillars. Without Wang Sheng's reminder, everyone gathered their strength and attacked for the 3rd time. 3 attacks from a 9th-stage realm expert, and each stone pillar had to withstand 2 or 3 people's attacks. These stone pillars were only a channel to provide energy. The person who set up the formation might not have thought that anyone would be able to come down here. There was protection, but it was not very strong. After 3 consecutive attacks, the protective formation outside the stone pillars had completely shattered. Following that, it was easy to handle. All the formations would have a certain degree of damage when they received strong attacks, unless there was continuous energy recovery. There was energy here, but the stone pillars, which were only responsible for connecting them, didn't have the perverted recovery ability of the ceiling array above. Under the continuous attacks of the 9th-stage realm experts, the recovery speed couldn't keep up with the speed of destruction. 10 minutes later, the first stone pillar, which was the most severely damaged, finally cracked and broke into pieces. This stone pillar seemed to have announced the start, and following that were continuous shattering sounds. In less than 2 minutes, 108 stone pillars had all shattered into pieces. When the last stone pillar shattered, everyone, including Wang Sheng, was on high alert as if they were facing a great enemy. They were all waiting for the formation to retaliate. At that moment, the entire underground space was dead silent. Only 1 or 2 bubbles would occasionally surface in the magma lake, giving out a soft popping sound. Suddenly, Wang Sheng instinctively sensed a gush of cold intent. He raised his head, and the top of the rock wall was covered with a layer of frost in that short moment. The frost seemed to have turned into a living thing as it spread all the way downwards, bringing along more cold air. The others also discovered this point, and everyone gave a low cry of shock, but there wasn't much panic. If it was just frost, it wouldn't pose much of a threat to them. At most, they would only feel cold. Seeing the frost spreading along those stone pillars which were not arrays, it had already reached the vicinity of the magma lake. Under everyone's astonished gazes, the frost actually covered the magma lake. Chapter 14:03. The moment the frost and magma came into contact, everyone heard a loud and continuous hissing sound. Then, they saw countless wisps of white steam rising from the ground. If you don't want to become steamed buns, hurry up and sprinkle water on your body. Wang Sheng's reminder rang out just in time. Everyone who was planning to watch the spectacle reacted and hurriedly did as he said. There was obviously not much water vapor in the air here. All the frost was actually formed by the water rapidly seeping down from above. The effect of the frost and magma was to produce a large amount of water vapor. This was really hot water vapor. It would not be a problem to steam a person. Those with ventilation array stones, hurry up and use them. As Wang Sheng sprinkled water on himself and Song Yin, he did not forget to remind the formation masters. The space here was very large. Moreover, the amount of water vapor that had just been produced was not very large. With a large number of ventilation array stones, they could quickly blow the water vapor elsewhere. This way, everyone's lives would not be in danger. Wang Sheng's reminder made the formation masters move. Each of them took out a ventilation array stone and blew at the water vapor. Some of the formation masters even had more than one ventilation array stone with them. They took out a few experts beside them and used them together. In any case, the use of the array stones was very simple. All they needed to do was to inject spiritual energy. Amidst the white steam, everyone's figures were covered. But soon, a large amount of wind blew past, and the water vapor was blown away. Everyone's figures were revealed, and they could see the changes that had occurred. What was unbelievable was that the boiling magma not far from their feet had become much dimmer in such a short period of time. Those with experience could tell at a glance that this was because the temperature had dropped a lot. At least, Wang Sheng could tell at a glance. Then, more and more frost and magma collided. More and more white steam appeared and was blown away. The color of the magma was getting darker and darker. Those on the outside, take a look. Is the color of the magma changing? Wang Sheng shouted at the experts on the outside. Right now, both Wang Sheng and Song Yin were in the center of the cave. There were many pillars blocking their view, and with the steam rising, Wang Sheng couldn't see what was happening outside. If only a portion of the magma had changed color, Wang Sheng would have to consider whether there was a unique reason and how long this situation would last, because the surrounding magma would melt the magma that had begun to cool down. Once it melted again, it would probably be the beginning of a new change. If there was a special reason, then Wang Sheng could stay for a while longer. There's a clear dividing line, red and black. Someone from the periphery immediately called out. At the same time, he said with his own judgment, it should be some kind of restriction formation. Hearing this, Wang Sheng immediately felt relieved. As expected, the girl in the dream had made thorough preparations. She was even able to predict such a situation and had already made preparations. The color of the magma became darker and darker. Half an hour later, all the magma in the area had turned into volcanic rocks that were exactly the same as the ones they were standing on before. Immediately after, the frost began to invade, freezing the volcanic rocks that had just cooled down firmly. In just a moment, there was a layer of white frost. Originally, everyone had shattered the stone pillars, so there was no connection between the ground and the top of the stone wall. At first, they couldn't feel the power of the frost. Now that the frost was spreading, they didn't realize how terrifying it was. They all looked at it strangely. If you don't want to be frozen, hurry up and circulate your energy to resist it. Think of a way to leave this area. Wang Sheng had to remind these experts who didn't seem to have any common sense. If it wasn't for the fact that there might be a formation that needed their help later, Wang Sheng wouldn't have reminded these idiots. Everyone finally realized that something was wrong. Under Wang Sheng's reminder, they quickly circulated their energy to resist the frost. As for Wang Sheng, he had already made preparations. A piece of wood that didn't conduct heat very well and a hollow disc filled with water and quicklime was enough for Wang Sheng to resist the frost. Song Yin was naturally carried in Wang Sheng's arms like a princess, so there was no need to worry. However, the four maids and guards weren't so lucky. They could only stand beside Wang Sheng and Song Yin and circulate their energy to resist the frost. They also moved from time to avoid being frozen to the ground. After a while, there was a crashing sound on the top of the wall. It was as if a large hole had opened up. A stream of water gushed down from above and flowed to the ground. However, as soon as it came into contact with the ground, the stream of water froze. The freezing speed was extremely fast. From the bottom to the top, it quickly froze the water that hadn't completely flowed down. Wang Sheng raised his head to look, and a smile appeared on his face. Sure enough, everything had been calculated. With the hole in the top of the wall, the frozen stream of ice had become the path to the top. After a moment of confusion, Song Yin seemed to have thought of something as well. She stared blankly at the hole above and fell into a trance. It wasn't only Wang Sheng and Song Yin who were smart. Many of the experts from the various clans who had followed along had looks of surprise and realization on their faces. Calculating the position, Wang Sheng knew that this was the bottom of the ice pillar that sealed the girl in his dream. Thinking of the space above, Wang Sheng looked at the greedy eyes around him and sighed inwardly. He said to Song Yin, who was beside him, "The space above is limited. It can't fit so many people. 2 people from each clan. It can't fit up there." Song Yin decisively gave the order. At the same time, she didn't forget to add, "I want people in the know. Those who don't know shouldn't go up and cause trouble." Wang Sheng gave Song Yin a look of approval. Wang Sheng wasn't surprised that each clan had people in the know. It would have been strange if they didn't know. Of course, before this, only the clan leaders or great elders of the various clans would know about this. They might even have found out recently from some ancient book that had just been unsealed in the clan's secret vault. At the very least, Wang Sheng had asked around many times before, but to no avail. If even Song Yin didn't know about it, then the clan leaders might not have known about it either. Wang Sheng wasn't interested in the secrets of these large clans. He only needed to know that each clan had at least 2 people in the know. If they went up there, they wouldn't hinder him from doing what he wanted to do. That was enough. Aki didn't respond, but Wang Sheng believed that Aki would definitely find the hidden exit. Under everyone's gaze, Wang Sheng took the initiative to climb up the ice pillar. Song Yin followed closely behind him, followed by the people from the other clans. They followed Wang Sheng all the way up. The passageway was large enough. After climbing up from below, Wang Sheng saw the ice pillar that he had seen last time. The girl in his dream was sealed in this ice pillar. Chapter 1404. This wasn't the first time Wang Sheng had seen this frozen pillar, but when he saw it again, his heart still skipped a beat. Taking a few steps forward, Wang Sheng touched the ice pillar and remained silent for a long time. Song Yin and the rest followed up, and when they saw this scene, no one said a word. They spread out and waited for Wang Sheng's next move. Is it convenient for the people below to know? Wang Sheng didn't look at them, but Wang Sheng could sense that they were already in position and asked in a deep voice. Everyone looked at each other and smiled bitterly as they shook their heads. If it was convenient for everyone to know, they would have told everyone long ago. Why wait till now? Song Yin signaled to the sure family expert beside her. The expert understood and immediately took out an array stone and activated it at the entrance of the cave. This was a silencing array, and no sound from above would be transmitted to the people below. As for safety, they weren't worried about it. There were hundreds of 9th-degree realm experts below, and if Wang Sheng were to do anything here, once the spiritual energy of the sure family expert was cut off, the experts below would rush up. The hole in the metal tube, which Wang Sheng left behind the last time he came here, was still there. It was difficult for the ice here to turn into steam, so a few months' time was not enough to fill up the space inside. When everyone came up, the first thing they saw was the ice pillar which sealed the dream girl in the middle, but no one noticed the top of their heads. Song Yin was the only one who intentionally glanced over and quickly discovered the hole on top of her head. However, she only glanced at it silently and did not look over again. Probably only Song Yin would believe that Wang Sheng had been here once. No one else would have thought that someone would be able to reach here when the glacier lake was still several hundred meters deep. With so many experts diving, it was unimaginable to find their position underwater, not to mention entering this place. There were all kinds of frozen shrubs and houses within a radius of dozens of miles, and it was 400 meters underwater. All the experts from different families were still searching inch by inch. It was very likely that they wouldn't be able to find the original position if they went up again. Under such circumstances, who could accurately find this place? Pa Wang Sheng stretched out his hand and patted the icicle twice, attracting everyone's attention. The icicle gave Wang Sheng the same feeling as last time. There was no sign of melting at all. Wang Sheng did not know what to do now that the energy source was cut off, so he could only work together. Come take a look, Wang Sheng shouted at the crowd. Let's see who knows this array and who has a way to open it. Actually, even without Wang Sheng's reminder, everyone had long wanted to come up and take a look. He was just giving face to Wang Sheng and Song Yin. Now, that Wang Sheng was the one who called out to him. There was no need for them to stand on ceremony. They all swarmed over to observe him, including Song Yin. In any case, the ice pillar had a diameter of 40 to 50 feet. Even 16 or 17 people wouldn't be able to wrap their arms around it, so no one would be in the way of the other. After a round of inspection, everyone shook their heads. They could only feel the array on the surface of the icicle and didn't know what was going on inside. But just the feeling that the array on the surface gave them was enough to make them completely clueless. They had no idea how this array was set up and what was its use. Let's try attacking a few times, Wang Sheng suggested once again. The crowd didn't have any objections. They looked at each other and took out their weapons in unison, hacking at the icicle in unison. After a series of banging sounds, everyone was dumbfounded. 7 to 8 ninth stage realm experts attacked with all their might, but not even a single shard of ice could be removed from the icicle. How could they get out of this embarrassing situation? Without Wang Sheng saying anything, the few of them had a simple discussion and immediately changed their attack method. Adding a few more people, everyone joined forces and attacked a point on the icicle at the same time. This was a common attack method for most arrays. Attacking a point together would definitely affect the array, and it might even break the array's balance in a short period of time, forming a hole that could be used to break the array. Boom! Almost at the same time, everyone's attack landed on the pre-agreed point. Under everyone's expectations, the array on the icicle should shake violently and form a hole, allowing them to attack the ice inside. But reality gave the experts who attacked a deep mockery. There was no movement at the point where the icicle was attacked, not even a white mark. Wang Sheng had long known that this would be the result, so he didn't find it strange. Song Yin seemed to have guessed the result, so when she took action, she didn't participate at all. The others thought that she didn't take action because of her status, but they didn't know Song Yan's understanding of Wang Sheng. If this icicle was so easy to deal with, would Wang Sheng wait for the second time to cut off the array's energy source? Everyone was dumbfounded. Their combined attack didn't even leave a mark. So what was the point of attacking? The group of people stopped and gathered together to discuss a question. What should they do? Every family had recently discovered a top-secret ancient book in their secret storehouse, which recorded some secrets from 500 years ago. Everyone had gathered here only for one purpose, and that was to kill the woman with the phoenix origin soul sealed in this ice pillar. This was the ancestors' instruction. Although it didn't explain the reason, no one in the large families who knew about it would disagree. Something that could make the ancestor so solemnly exhorted was definitely not a small matter. The array's energy source should be the 108 stone pillars below. We've already destroyed them. Wang Sheng didn't mind saying some of the things he knew to relieve the pain of the girl in her dreams. What should we do with this array? Every family had their own arrangements. Of the two people in each family who knew about it, one of them would definitely be an array expert. The 8 array experts discussed for a while, then went to the side of the array to take out a few array stones to examine it before coming back to discuss. After going back and forth a few times, they finally came to a conclusion. Logically speaking, the array's energy source has already been destroyed, so it shouldn't be able to last for long. The Song family's array expert became the spokesperson, explaining to everyone in Wang Sheng. But after our inspection, we discovered that this array scale is very large, and it can store a lot of spiritual energy, so even in this state, it can still last for a long time. How long is a long time? Song Yin asked directly. At least a year or more. The Song family's array expert quickly replied. When he replied, the other array experts from the other families also nodded repeatedly. More than a year? Song Yin frowned. Who knew what would happen in a year or more? In order to prevent any accidents, it was best to solve it as soon as possible. Is there no way to solve it quickly? Song Yin asked with slight dissatisfaction. Yes. The Song family's expert hurriedly replied. There is an instant of strong spiritual energy that continues to destroy it. In this case, it will only take a few days. What level of strong spiritual energy? Song Yin asked again. The level where a 9th stage realm expert advances to the level of spiritual energy tempering. The Song family expert didn't hesitate and directly gave the answer. Chapter 1405. Only when a 9th stage expert advanced to the legendary realm would they be able to use the energy of heaven and earth. Upon hearing this, the 8 family heads were dumbfounded. If there were a few legendary realm experts here, perhaps things would be much easier. However, the problem was that when they came in through the underground tunnel, the legendary realm experts could not enter at all. The highest they could reach was a 9th stage expert. However, the biggest problem was that although the 9th stage experts present were all 9th stage experts, in fact, except for a few, most of them had just advanced not too long ago. Previously, Wang Sheng had asked old Taoist Ling Su to create a huge ruckus, attracting all the clans and powers to bring their strongest experts to the capital. With the help of the martial Grandmaster concert, they were able to advance to the legendary realm. It could be said that the strongest 9th stage experts had all successfully entered the legendary realm. The rest were relatively ordinary experts that even the Grandmaster's concert could not inspire, and a batch of newcomers from the 8th stage to the 9th stage. Experts who had just advanced to the 9th stage realm not too long ago obviously did not have the opportunity to reach the legendary realm in this short period of a month. At this time, where could they find an expert who was about to advance to the legendary realm to trigger the heavens and earth to break the seal? Let everyone come up? Not to mention whether they could stand and continue attacking for a few days, even if there were 1,000 9th stage experts. Could they be compared to the energy of heaven and earth? Everyone was at a loss and could only look to Song Yin for help. Song Yin was the leader, and this was an agreement that had been reached long ago. Whatever decision she made, the others could only listen. Song Yin herself had just advanced a few months ago and was not at the stage where she was about to break through. When everyone looked at her, she could only look to Wang Sheng for help. A few months ago, Wang Sheng was already able to go head-to-head with Xia family's 9th stage realm peak top exponent. Then Wang Sheng's cultivation realm was absolutely not low. If there was anyone present who had the opportunity to break through, it would be Wang Sheng, no one else. Here, from the look in Song Yan's eyes, Wang Sheng knew what she was thinking. Looking at the dozen or so people around them, Wang Sheng shook his head and said, "Are you kidding me?" Other than Song Yan, who among the 8 great families didn't want to kill Wang Sheng. Previously, he had a favor to ask of Wang Sheng, so he had tolerated him. However, if Wang Sheng were to undergo the tempering of heaven and earth during his breakthrough, Wang Sheng would be completely powerless to resist. If the other party wanted to kill Wang Sheng, it would be a piece of cake. How retarded must one be to advance under the watchful eyes of 10 over ninth stage realm enemies? It had never been Wang Sheng's style to put his life in someone else's hands. Unless it was absolutely necessary, Wang Sheng would never do it. Song Yin took a few steps forward and walked to Wang Sheng's side, shooting a glance at the array expert from the Song family. That expert understood and immediately took out a sound isolation array stone, isolating Wang Sheng, Song Yin, and the crowd. Everyone knew that this was definitely Song Yin trying to persuade Wang Sheng, but she didn't want everyone to hear, so no one bothered about it. There were two people who seemed to be looking over casually, but their gazes were fixated on Wang Sheng and Song Yin's lips, as though they could decipher the contents of their words from the movements of their lips. However, Song Yin and Wang Sheng smiled slightly as they turned around, their backs facing the crowd. This time, the two experts who were proficient in lip reading were at their wits' end, unless they ran over to their front to observe without any scruples. "All right, we can't see those two fellows anymore." Song Yin smiled as she said, and then asked curiously, "How do you know that they are proficient in lip reading?" There are so many capable people in this world, and the power of an original spirit is almost limitless. It doesn't seem strange to have one or two with unique abilities, right? Wang Sheng casually explained and didn't say anything else. Could it be that Wang Sheng could still say that he had personally dealt with more than 10 of such professionals in the army on Earth? "Don't you want to open this sealing array?" Song Yin didn't pursue this question further. Since she could guess it, Wang Sheng would definitely be able to guess it as well. So Song Yin used the topic that Wang Sheng was most interested in to remind Wang Sheng. "Yes," Wang Sheng replied affirmatively. "But this cannot be the reason for me to advance in front of so many people. I'm not afraid to tell you frankly, I don't trust them." "What about me?" Song Yin asked Wang Sheng. "Do you trust me?" "I trust you." Wang Sheng nodded, but immediately added, "But you can't truly control the experts of other families." Song Yin was very clear that what Wang Sheng said was the truth, but she wasn't discouraged. After a short moment of silence, she frankly said to Wang Sheng, "You actually don't know the urgency of our families to kill her. Didn't you guys know nothing before?" Wang Sheng asked with some doubt. At that time, Song Yin only spoke vaguely, only knowing that the Phoenix origin spirit was a taboo. How did she know so clearly now? "Our ancestors left behind a batch of records and ancient books, which were just unsealed a few months ago." Song Yin quickly explained, "It's the same for the other families. Only our 8 families left behind such things. According to the records, they didn't kill that person when they worked together. They only sealed her and told us to kill her after 500 years. Why?" Wang Sheng still asked in confusion. "Your ancestors could seal her, so why didn't they kill her? Also, why did they kill her after 500 years? In the past, when Wang Sheng played games or watched some foreign movies, he was very puzzled. If they could seal the Great Demon King, it meant that they already had the ability to capture the Great Demon King alive. Why didn't they kill him? Why did they have to wait for the Great Demon King to come out and wreak havoc after the seal was broken? Could it be that this was also a melodramatic plot? Do you think they don't want to?" Song Yin smiled bitterly. From the ancient books that had just been unsealed, she found out that the ancestors of the various families wanted to kill that woman to death, but they couldn't do anything to her. However, she couldn't explain this to Wang Sheng in detail, so she could only give a simple explanation: "It's impossible. Even this sealing formation wasn't set up by our ancestors. It was just a coincidence that she was forced into it. No wonder you can't even touch the edge of the formation and have to rely on me," Wang Sheng said disdainfully, but he also understood some things in his heart. "So, you should know that we won't do anything to you before we completely kill her." Song Yin continued to persuade him. "Although we can slowly think of a way when the lake above us dries up, who knows what will happen in the meantime. It's safer to end it first." Chapter 1406. The descendants of the 8 great clans had never dared to belittle a peerless top exponent who had been sealed in the ice sealing array for 500 years. The array's energy source had already been broken by Wang Sheng, and the minute this sealing array was undone, How are they going to resist that peerless top exponent, who were only ninth stage realm top exponents? Once that peerless top exponent broke out, based on the life and death feud between her and the 8 great clans, how many of the 8 great clans would be able to survive? Both parties were in a situation where they would not rest until one of them was dead. Now that the 8 great clans had the upper hand, how would they possibly allow time to pass by and let the peerless top exponent break out of the array? So it was the safest for Wang Sheng to break the array at this point in time. Even if it was the Dai family who wanted to kill Wang Sheng the most, they would probably obediently escort him and protect him when Wang Sheng advanced to the next level to protect Wang Sheng. How are you so certain that you can kill her after breaking this array? Wang Sheng didn't continue to harp on whether he should believe them, but asked another question. You said it yourself, weren't your ancestors unable to kill her that year? Don't we have you? Song Yin looked at Wang Sheng and smiled. When we first met, didn't you say that you're here to kill her? If it was anyone else, if he said that he could kill a peerless top exponent, who countless top exponents couldn't kill 500 years ago, Song Yin would definitely treat him as a liar and kick him out. But the person who said this was Wang Sheng, so naturally it was different. Just as everyone knew the truth, the people whom Wang Sheng had killed, more than 90% of them had higher cultivation than Wang Sheng, and they had used many unimaginable killer moves. Till now, no one knew how Wang Sheng had killed Baoqing Yutang and Zhu Xingxing, only knowing that Zhu Xingxing had lost his head for no apparent reason. This unimaginable method was another proof of Song Yan's extreme confidence in Wang Sheng. Of course, the earliest time was when Wang Sheng killed Dai Si from a few miles away, which shocked Song Yan. If Wang Sheng said he could kill them, then he would definitely kill them. Can you guarantee that they won't make a move? Wang Sheng thought for a long time before asking Song Yan. I don't want to be a widow yet. Song Yan didn't answer directly. Instead, she threw out a sentence with a hidden meaning and didn't say anything else. In the end, Wang Sheng still nodded. At this point, there was no way Wang Sheng would throw the girl in his dreams to the various large clans. She had already endured enough torture. Wang Sheng would rather she die a quick death. Everyone around saw Wang Sheng's action of nodding, and they were all delighted. Sure enough, eldest Miss Song had the means to persuade Wang Sheng. No wonder people said that the relationship between first Miss Song and Wang Sheng was ambiguous and ambiguous. It seemed that the rumors were not groundless. Send someone to inform the people below. The formation expert from the Song clan had already removed the soundproof formation. Wang Sheng called out to Song Yin, "It will take a few days to refine the body with spiritual energy. Those people below don't know, and they might get the wrong idea." Song Yin agreed, but she gave Wang Sheng a resentful look. How was he asking Song Yin to inform the experts? He was clearly asking Song Yin to find a way to inform Aki. Since when did that female assassin enter Wang Sheng's heart? However, Song Yin still did her best to carry out Wang Sheng's request. Not only that, she also brought 2 leaders from other clans down personally to announce this matter to the experts waiting below. She told them not to be nervous and await patiently. The people above did not stay idle either. They all found suitable positions and set up a warm formation to prepare. This was simply not a place for people to stay. The lava below was still hot, and above was bone-chilling cold. They had only been standing there for a short while, but they were already feeling unbearably cold. By the time Song Yin came up, there was no need for her to tell Wang Sheng. Wang Sheng already knew the result. With such a loud voice, Aki definitely heard it. Wang Sheng had already sat down with his back against the icicle of the girl in his dreams. He took a few bites and prepared to advance. Song Yin, like the others, also prepared as far away as possible, waiting for Wang Sheng to start advancing. Others might not know, but Song Yin knew that Wang Sheng had eaten a few pieces of Super King cuttlefish meat. Judging from the amount Wang Sheng had eaten, it seemed to be 1 or 2 caddies. These super squid tentacles were enough to slowly digest and provide enough spiritual energy during the advancement. Of course, the spiritual energy of heaven and earth would not give Wang Sheng any less than this piece of meat, but the feeling of fullness it brought was different. This was a small precaution for Wang Sheng. If he did not eat or drink for a few days and nights, even if he advanced, his body would be very weak. When that time came, it would not be appropriate for him to be at the mercy of others. Therefore, Wang Sheng had to prepare himself and not be controlled by others. While eating, no one, including Song Yin, saw a small storage ring enter Wang Sheng's mouth. In this storage ring, there were very small pieces of meat and other food, as well as rehydration salt that Wang Sheng had carefully prepared and a small amount of water. As long as Wang Sheng thought about it, under the control of spiritual energy, these things would enter Wang Sheng's mouth, maintaining Wang Sheng's vigorous physical strength at all times. Wang Sheng quietly glanced at the people around him, closed his eyes, and then began to advance. As early as when he received the infusion of the long sword aura of the girl in his dreams, Wang Sheng was already on the verge of advancing. It was Wang Sheng who had been controlling himself and not advancing until now. When Wang Sheng started to move, dark clouds had already begun to gather in the sky. This kind of movement could not be hidden at all. The legendary masters outside, who could not enter the lake, were still thinking of ways to advance. When they saw this scene, they immediately realized that someone was advancing to the next level. Apart from Song Yin, the people from the other families were slightly surprised. Who would have thought that Wang Sheng could advance at any time and place? Why did he not advance to the legendary realm before? But then they thought of the scene where the legendary masters could not break through the formation and came down. Could it be that Wang Sheng had already foreseen this? Song Yan's mind was spinning. She was not worried that these guys would make a move when Wang Sheng was advancing, but now she was more and more curious. Where did Wang Sheng come from? How could he be so familiar with the land of Thousand Despair? Even legendary masters could not enter the underground passage in advance. As the spiritual energy in the sky condensed, an incomparably powerful spiritual energy directly penetrated the hundreds of meters deep lake water, directly disregarding the tens of meters thick solid ice, and directly plunged from the sky to the ground, piercing straight into the top of Wang Sheng's head. At the same time, the underground magma lake seemed to have encountered the most powerful sea storm, setting off a huge wave of magma. Apart from the central part that had already cooled down, the magma outside slowly began to rotate. The rotation became faster and faster, soon forming a huge magma whirlpool, the center of which was the cooling area below Wang Sheng. Chapter 1407. The experts from the various families had seen lakes that were hundreds of miles wide, and they had also seen whirlpools on the surface of some small lakes. However, they had never seen a magma whirlpool on a magma lake that was tens of miles wide. That was a lake formed by molten rock. What kind of terrifying power would it take to stir up such a huge whirlpool? The legendary realm? Even if a legendary realm expert came here, he could only stare blankly and sigh, right? The experts below could not see what was happening above. Fortunately, Song Yin had personally come down to explain that there would be a situation where the aura of heaven and earth would temper one's body and the movement would be relatively large, so no one panicked. However, not panicking did not mean that they were not shocked. This was called a relatively large movement. This movement was too terrifying, wasn't it? Because the experts above had the soundproof formation, they also did not know what was happening below. The effect of the formation was two-way. Of course, the focus of their attention at the moment was not on the movement below, but on Wang Sheng and the icicle. As soon as the aura of heaven and earth entered his body, Wang Sheng took the initiative to guide the pillar of aura that penetrated the lake's ice to deviate from the center of the icicle. In fact, this was not the best method. The best method was to go down and sit directly below the icicle, so that the aura of heaven and earth would easily penetrate the icicle. Unfortunately, it was impossible for Wang Sheng to trust anyone here except Song Yin. He could not leave the icicle while unsealing it. Otherwise, once the icicle seal was unsealed and Wang Sheng was not present, the girl in her dreams would definitely fall into the hands of the 8 great families. At that time, Whether she lived or died would be beyond her control. Therefore, no matter how troublesome it was, Wang Sheng could only use the most difficult method to achieve it by sitting next to the icicle. However, what Wang Sheng did not expect was that when he tried to guide the pillar of aura hanging from the sky into the icicle, a strange attraction seemed to appear in the icicle, and it easily guided the pillar of aura to the center of the icicle. Not only that, but scorching spiritual energy also gushed out of the underground magma vortex. It rushed into the ice pillar from the bottom of the ice pillar, which Wang Sheng did not notice. After being filtered by the ice pillar, it entered Wang Sheng's body. This time, Wang Sheng was finally relieved. He didn't have to worry about the lack of spiritual qi. He could focus on completing his advancement process first. At the very least, the 8 great clans would not be able to do anything to him until he had completed his advancement, or, strictly speaking, until the ice pillar broke the seal. Even if they did, Song Yan would stop them. Wang Sheng had been pondering over which legendary realm, origin soul, he should choose after sensing the aura of the girl in his dream. Previously, he had thought about the 9 sons of the dragon. In fact, there were a total of 12 choices, and 9 had already been completed. They were Qi 1, Tao Tai, Swan and I, Fu Yin, Qionyou, Swan and I, Paleo, Baji, and Yazi. There were 3 left, Jiufeng, Swanni, and Paprika. Swanni was good at litigation. In Wang Sheng's view, it was a choice to enhance his judgment and reaction speed, and Paprika was responsible for guarding the door. Wang Sheng believed that it should be a strengthening of the body or defensive power. But Paprika was a little puzzled by Wang Sheng's Chao Feng. Chao Feng was good at danger and generally stayed on the roof. From this point of view, it might enhance his eyesight. Wang Sheng was also puzzled. Qi Wen also enhanced his eyesight. Could it be that the two overlapped? That was impossible. Wang Sheng analyzed the 2 characteristics of Chao Feng, as well as the fact that he liked to stay in high places, and he felt that Chao Feng might have strengthened 2 aspects, balance and vision. However, his vision should be different from Qi Wen's. What Wang Sheng hoped most was that Chao Feng could enhance some unexpected functions, such as night vision. In this situation, in the dark underground space, although he could see some things with the help of the molten lava, if it was in other underground passages, night vision was extremely useful, and it was also a guarantee that Wang Sheng could escape in time without being punished. Therefore, Wang Sheng immediately decided to advance to the legendary realm and upgrade his soul to Chao Feng. This was the only time that Wang Sheng did not strengthen it in advance before advancing, and only chose to change his soul at the last step. However, since it was beyond the boundaries of common sense, from the 9th realm to the legendary realm, it was no longer bound by common sense, and such a change was not unacceptable. The long tempering of the spiritual qi of heaven and earth began, and Wang Sheng was also immersed in the joy of being immersed in the spiritual qi. In fact, what entered Wang Sheng's body now was not spiritual qi, but spiritual liquid that almost turned into liquid. This spiritual liquid had been filtered by the array on the icicle in advance, and the degree of purity was even more exaggerated than Wang Sheng's own condensation. When this spiritual liquid entered Wang Sheng's body, Wang Sheng's acupuncture points condensed a little, and he could easily absorb it immediately. As Wang Sheng judged, the spiritual qi that rushed into Wang Sheng's body first strengthened Wang Sheng's eyes and ears, which made Wang Sheng very happy. To enhance balance, the semicircular canals in the ears should be strengthened, and to enhance certain kinds of vision, Wang Sheng's eyes should be strengthened. It seemed that Wang Sheng's judgment was all right. Usually, when advancing, Wang Sheng would do it in a safe place, and there must be trustworthy protectors around, so Wang Sheng did not have to think too much. But in this situation, Wang Sheng could only raise his vigilance and set the individual combat terminal to make a faint vibration every 3 hours to remind Wang Sheng of the time. Every time it vibrated, Wang Sheng would swallow 2 pieces of small beast meat, 1 portion of rehydration salt, and 2 portions of water. This was to ensure that Wang Sheng would not be weak after a few days of advancement because of lack of water and food. Even if he was not at his peak state, at least he would be able to take action immediately. Wang Sheng's storage ring was in his mouth, and his swallowing action was very slight, so it would not attract people's attention. Even if someone noticed it, they would not care. Couldn't he swallow a few mouthfuls of saliva during the advancement process? In the soul space, the white mist once again wrapped Wang Sheng's current Yazi soul. With the increase of the absorption of spiritual liquid, the soul began to slowly change. Everything seemed to be similar to the previous advancement, except that Wang Sheng had to be distracted. There was no other change. However, the only thing that Wang Sheng did not think about was the advancement time. From the beginning of advancing to Qi 1, Wang Sheng's cultivation advancement was different every time, and the time he took was at least 50% more than others. This did not include the time to transform the aperture into yin-yang cyclone. If it was counted, it would be twice as long as others. This time was the same, just when everyone thought that Wang Sheng only needed 3 or 4 days to advance. Who would have thought that this process would last for 9 days? Chapter 1408. While Wang Sheng was in the midst of his advancement, other than trembling every 3 hours, he knew nothing about the outside world. He could not see, hear, or be interested in what was happening around him. The only thing he had to worry about was the possibility that the ice pillar would break before his advancement was over. However, the 16 people from 8 great clans who were watching from the outside had a completely different feeling. At the beginning, Wang Sheng's advancement was considered normal. Although it caused a bit of a commotion, it was still a normal phenomenon. Everyone's advancement was different, and a big commotion did not mean that it was abnormal. However, when Wang Sheng's advancement continued for a day and everyone was getting impatient, the ice pillar suddenly changed. From the inside of the icicle, a faint light began to flicker faintly. The light itself was very weak, and when the torch shone on the ice pillar, it would cause a flicker. At first, no one noticed it. However, when the light became brighter and brighter, it was hard not to notice it. Sure enough, ordinary attacks were useless against the ice pillar. One had to use heaven and earth spiritual energy to break it. That was what everyone thought. Fortunately, the ice pillar could only be broken by someone who had reached the legendary realm. This was the research of the 8 great clans array masters, so not many people doubted Wang Sheng's ability. The only one who felt that something was wrong was Song Yin, because Wang Sheng's previous actions seemed to be very coordinated. Song Yin was worried that something might go wrong during the process. Song Yin had seen the records of the ancestors with her own eyes. In fact, Song Yin had lied to Wang Sheng about some things. For example, she had seen these records before going to the worry-free city, but she had only selectively told Wang Sheng some other content and did not mention this part. In addition, the situation was actually the same for each family. Otherwise, the benefits of the super monster soul would not have been enough for each family to risk so many legendary experts to break the formation outside. Everyone was urged by their ancestors to kill that expert no matter what, so they cooperated and joined in the process of killing the super demon beast. Otherwise, who would be stupid enough to let their legendary experts die, one after another? Of course, Song Yin would never tell Wang Sheng about this. She could be so intimate with Wang Sheng that they would have to bow to each other, and she could also guarantee that no one would have any ill intentions when Wang Sheng was promoted. However, this matter concerned the rise and fall of her family, so she would never tell Wang Sheng these top secrets. When everyone saw the flickering light, they could no longer sit still. Song Yin had no choice but to stand up and warn the crowd to calm down. There were only some flickers inside the icicle. Such a thick icicle showed no signs of melting. What was the use of being excited now? Song Yin was extremely dissatisfied with these idiotic teammates. What was it that couldn't wait until everyone's biggest problem was solved? The other experts were also aware of their loss of composure. They obediently sat down and continued to observe. Their spirits were also focused, no longer waiting impatiently like before. The light grew brighter and brighter. In the end, everyone realized that there was no need for them to light torches anymore. The place was already illuminated by the glowing icicles. It was not as bright as noon, but it was almost as bright as dawn. Not only that, but the icicles also began to melt bit by bit. Accompanied by the sound of the formation symbols on the icicles cracking, the outer diameter of the icicles had obviously shrunk by more than a foot in a day. This time, everyone became even more excited. The hope of breaking the icicles was right in front of them. As long as the seal was broken, killing the peerless expert inside would be a piece of cake. However, in the midst of their excitement, everyone began to worry. The outer diameter of this icicle was more than 4 feet. It took 2 days to melt more than a foot. How long would it take to break the remaining ice? If Wang Sheng's promotion time was too short, it would not be enough to completely melt the entire icicle. Song Yin knew something about Wang Sheng's promotion. She also knew that Wang Sheng's promotion time was a little longer than the average person's, but she could not guarantee that Wang Sheng's promotion time would be able to last that long. However, everyone's promotion time was not something they could control. Therefore, even if everyone was worried, they could only wait for Wang Sheng's promotion and then think of other ways. At worst, Wang Sheng would find a way to bring in a few experts who were on the verge of breaking through. After all, they had to break the ice as soon as possible. Wang Sheng's rate of leveling up continued at a crazy pace. 3 days for days. Just as everyone felt that it was about time, Wang Sheng continued steadily for another day. Now he had reached the 5th day. In these 5 days, the icicles had melted by half. The 4 to 5 feet wide icicles were now at most 2 feet thick. The speed of the last 3 days was clearly getting faster and faster, which surprised and delighted everyone. At this time, no one felt that Wang Sheng's promotion time was a little too long. Instead, everyone felt that it was not long enough. They wanted Wang Sheng to persist and persist. It would be best if he could break the ice in one go. On the 6th and a half day, Wang Sheng's soul had actually completely transformed, and the acupoints were almost completely opened. With 256 new acupoints opened, Wang Sheng now had a total of 512 acupoints. This was unprecedented, and no one would be able to surpass him. Normally, Wang Sheng would definitely stop his promotion at this point. But this time, when Wang Sheng decided to stop, the combat consciousness little person, who had not moved during the promotion process, vaguely conveyed a thought to Wang Sheng, telling him to continue. Wang Sheng had always suspected that the combat consciousness little person was related to the girl in his dream. At this moment, he no longer had any doubts. He immediately started the process of transforming the yin and yang cyclone acupoints without hesitation. The continuous spiritual energy of heaven and earth did not dissipate. It still poured into the icicles from the sky and from the ground, and then passed to Wang Sheng, helping him transform the cyclones one by one. Just when Wang Sheng received the message from the combat consciousness little person, the icicles outside suddenly shone brightly. The experts of the 8 families who had been watching immediately clenched their weapons. If there were any changes at this time, they could only fight. The changes that they expected did not happen. After the icicles lit up for a moment, it returned to normal. However, there was a calm voice that clearly sounded in everyone's ears. "You're here. Kill me." An unfamiliar woman said these words without the slightest trace of emotion, allowing everyone to hear it clearly. Chapter 1409. This time, Wang Sheng was actually immersed in his cultivation and did not hear it. The battle awareness homunculus did not relay it either, so Wang Sheng did not know anything. However, the 16 experts outside, including Song Yin, heard it loud and clear. There were 6 words in total with 2 meanings. First say "you are here," then say "kill me," so no one will misunderstand. When this voice came out, the first thing everyone was sure was that the peerless expert from 500 years ago was indeed still alive. This made them break out in a cold sweat. If not for the fact that their ancestors had mentioned it in the records, and that they had seen it with their own eyes and ears, they would never have believed that such a ridiculous thing could happen. Someone could live for 500 years. An expert from 500 years ago could still live until now. But now they believed it. They really believed it. After accepting this inconceivable fact, they could not help but feel a little happy when they thought about the expert they were about to face. From the words of the peerless expert, they could tell that she was already tired of the world and had the intention to die. That sentence of killing me was proof of that. This was much easier to deal with. Facing a peerless expert who wanted to die was better than facing a cornered beast, right? No one was a fool. This meant that the task left behind by their ancestors would soon be completed. However, while they were happy, everyone began to ponder at the same time. You are here. Who are you? Me? The people of the various great families were not fools. How could they flatter themselves and say that the expert that their ancestors could not deal with 500 years ago was waiting for them? It was already very obvious who she was waiting for. Wang Sheng. And only Wang Sheng was the person she had been waiting for. In the past, everyone had been wondering where Wang Sheng had come from. He had appeared out of nowhere, and besides the Song family, no one knew where he had come from. In reality, even Song Yin herself did not know where Wang Sheng had come from. She only knew that he had suddenly appeared in the Song family's forbidden area. Hearing this voice, Song Yin finally understood why Wang Sheng kept saying that he was here to kill someone with a phoenix origin spirit. Perhaps it was this woman who kept using some kind of secret summoning method that made Wang Sheng have that kind of idea. At this point, Song Yin heaved a sigh of relief. She didn't have to worry anymore. In the past, she had always been worried that Wang Sheng was not here to kill, but to save people. Hearing the woman say those words, there was no longer any doubt about Wang Sheng's goal. He was indeed here to kill. The experts from the other families seemed to have similar thoughts. In any case, when Song Yin saw everyone secretly heave a sigh of relief, she couldn't help but find it funny. The rest of the time was calm as they waited for Wang Sheng to complete his advancement and for the icicle to melt. This was already the 8th day, and Wang Sheng was still tempering his body with the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. Towards this, everyone was already used to it, as they already knew that Wang Sheng was able to kill a 9th stage Realm Peak top exponent with one punch long ago. Now that his performance was slightly exaggerated, but it wasn't totally out of common sense as it was still within everyone's acceptable range. The only thing that everyone was worried about was that Wang Sheng's advancement time wasn't long enough to completely thaw all the icicles. By then, they might have to think of ways to find another top exponent to advance. What was surprising was that Wang Sheng didn't make a single sound, and this made everyone look at Wang Sheng in a new light. Under this kind of situation, even if Wang Sheng's spirit and spiritual energy could totally hold on, but after he completed his advancement, his body would definitely be weak for a period of time, and this was in line with the benefits of each family. No one noticed that Wang Sheng would eat and drink at fixed intervals to replenish his electrolytes. Other than sitting for a long period of time, which might slightly affect Wang Sheng's movements, the physical weakness which everyone naturally assumed would not appear on Wang Sheng. Everyone's attention was no longer on Wang Sheng. As the icicles melted, 16 pairs of eyes stared intently at the faintly translucent icicles, trying to see through the thick layer of ice to see the situation inside. Unfortunately, even an expert with good eyesight could only see a blur at the moment. The outline of a human figure appeared in the icicles. It was standing, but they couldn't see a clear image. What was even more surprising was that as the diameter of the icicle shrank, the speed of melting also increased. Of course, this was also easy to understand. As the diameter decreased, the volume also decreased. Moreover, the speed at which Wang Sheng melted the icicles was actually fixed. This caused the outside to melt slowly while the inside to melt quickly. After a while, the array on the icicles would make a low explosive sound, and the icicles would melt a little. This process was visible to the naked eye, and the 16 people from the 8 families couldn't take their eyes off it. Seeing that the icicles were only 3 feet in diameter, the silhouette of the figure inside could already be seen clearly. Even the color and style of clothes could be seen clearly. Everyone became excited. The more it was at this time, the more they couldn't be careless. The 16 experts all clenched their weapons and waited for the final moment to arrive. Several families even began to signal each other with their eyes, waiting for the solid ice to melt, and then they would make the final attack. Suddenly, Wang Sheng's body moved slightly. Under everyone's focused gazes, it was a very large movement. Everyone was shocked. They weren't shocked that Wang Sheng would move. Rather, they were at the most critical moment. If Wang Sheng stopped now, all their previous efforts would have been in vain. Pausing at the last moment was the most unbearable thing to do. Please hold on a little longer. Please hold on a little longer. Among the 16 people, at least 15 of them had the same thought. The only one, Song Yin, was probably conflicted. She hoped that Wang Sheng could hold on, but at the same time, she hoped that Wang Sheng couldn't. Wang Sheng watched as the figure within the ice pillar grew clearer. Only an inch or so of ice remained. Suddenly, Wang Sheng moved again. Then he opened his eyes. The dozen or so experts were so upset that they nearly jumped up. There was only 1 inch of solid ice left. Why couldn't he just hold on for a little longer? How is it? This time, Wang Sheng was really done. After opening his eyes, he shook his head left and right. After stretching his neck, he slowly stood up. Just a little bit more, Song Yin directly replied. Wang Sheng turned his head and looked at them. He didn't say a word, ignoring the ugly expressions on everyone's faces. In front of everyone, Wang Sheng took out some food and water to replenish himself. Then he began to move his body. Everyone stared at the last inch of solid ice. All of them had disappointed expressions. They didn't know how to express their feelings at the moment. For the 9 Peaks Mountain, all their efforts were in vain. Perhaps this was the current situation. It doesn't seem to be a failure, does it? Wang Sheng's voice suddenly sounded. Everyone was stunned. What did he mean? Chapter 14:10. Wang Sheng's words gave everyone hope again. Could it be that Wang Sheng still had some tricks up his sleeves that he hadn't used yet? We can't break through the ice that's several zhang thick, and there's only an inch of ice left. Is there no other way? Wang Sheng couldn't help but frown. Were these guys muddle-headed? They couldn't even think of such a simple logic? Everyone was stunned once again, and then they all shook their heads and smiled bitterly. It was a very simple logic, but everyone was used to using this method to the end. It was really funny. You, lean over here. Song Yin reminded Wang Sheng, asking him to move closer to her. This way, Wang Sheng wouldn't be in the path of those experts' attacks. In addition, if he was closer to her, Song Yin was confident that she could shield Wang Sheng behind her if the situation changed. Right now, Wang Sheng should be completely weak. He hadn't eaten or drunk anything for 9 days and 9 nights, and even an Iron Man wouldn't be able to hold on. Wang Sheng smiled at Song Yin and accepted her kind intentions. He walked over to her side and continued to slowly drink water to replenish his energy. Although he would replenish his energy every 3 hours, it was still only a little. Right now, Wang Sheng was so hungry that he could stretch his hand out of his throat. Boom! Just as Wang Sheng dodged, the Sure Clan's formation master had already rushed out. While he was still in the air, he fiercely slashed at the solid ice with his saber. Pong! The Sure Clan formation master who had flown over was sent flying back at a speed even faster than he had charged out. With a thump, he crashed into the ice wall on the other side and then fell to the ground. Although he did not faint, he did not get up for a long time. This unforeseen event shocked everyone. Originally, everyone thought that what Wang Sheng said made sense. The thin inch of ice should have been easily broken, but they didn't expect something like this to happen. However, from the scene of that expert being repelled, everyone was more certain of one thing, and that was that the power of the formation had indeed weakened a lot. One had to know that at the beginning, the attacks of several of their experts were all rebounded badly. But now, not a single one of them was knocked unconscious. It was clear that they had suffered a lot. Another member of the Sure family hurriedly helped his comrade up. The other families quickly gathered together and discussed for a while. Then, a few of them moved at the same time, slashing at the icicle. Pung, pung, pung. There were still a few muffled sounds. The people who attacked were all shaken back, But this time, they were not shaken back as much as before. They retreated a few steps and stood still. Seeing this, even Wang Sheng heaved a sigh of relief, let alone the others. It was certain that the power of the array formation had been greatly weakened. However, even if it was only a thin inch of ice, the crowd would still be helpless against it. The few of them did not give up. They gathered again and tried again, but the result was still the same. This time, no one thought about using their own strength to shatter the last layer of ice. Everyone began to think about how to complete this last step. They had gone through so much hardship to get here, so they couldn't just give up halfway. Perhaps we need a legendary expert to break the ice. Finally, someone slowly said. Everyone nodded slowly. They might not be able to break the ice together, but a legendary expert who had surpassed that limit would definitely be able to break it. How can a legendary expert enter here? Immediately, someone raised a new question. They had seen with their own eyes that legendary experts could not enter through the path they had taken. There was no hope from that path. As for coming down from above, that was even more ridiculous. Now, they did not even know where the top of their heads was, so how could they send an expert in? Seeing a group of people racking their brains to think of a way to get a legendary expert in, Song Yin could not help but burst out laughing after holding it in for a while. Her laughter attracted the attention of a group of people. Everyone looked at Song Yin with a hint of reproach. Everyone was racking their brains to think of a way, but Song Yin was laughing at them. Even if Song Yin was the leader, it did not make sense, right? Moreover, she was just a temporary leader. Sorry, I couldn't hold it in. Song Yin still couldn't hold it in any longer. After apologizing a few times, she finally stopped laughing. With a stern face, she asked the crowd, "Everyone, do you mean that we should find a way to find a legendary expert to break the final seal? Am I right?" Everyone nodded speechlessly. After talking for so long, did Song Yin still not know what they were talking about? Why worry about this? Song Yin finally calmed down completely and said to everyone calmly, "Don't we have a legendary expert among us?" There was a legendary expert here? Everyone was stunned. How is that possible? How did a legendary expert break through the array and enter here? Song Yin, are you joking? Someone was about to reprimand her when they suddenly saw Song Yin looking to the side. Following her gaze, they saw Wang Sheng slowly eating and drinking. Shua. Everyone instantly understood as if they were suddenly enlightened. It was dark under the light. Didn't Wang Sheng just advance from the 9th stage to the legendary realm under their eyes? How could they forget about him? All of a sudden, everyone had a feeling of not knowing whether to laugh or cry. The feeling of looking for something but not being able to find it in the end, only to find out that it had been in your hand all along. Was this the feeling? Let me rest for a while. Wang Sheng did not refuse. Under everyone's watchful eyes, he finished eating and drinking. He even went down to the bottom and took a good nap. After a full day and night, he once again stood before the final pillar of ice. No one had any objections. 9 days and 9 nights without eating or drinking, just resting for a day and night, was already considered fast. This was much easier than bringing in an expert from the outside, and it also saved a lot of time. Everyone was still in their respective positions, watching Wang Sheng make his move. Wang Sheng was already prepared. He also held the Tiger Fong military knife in his hand, waiting to break the seal and end the girl's suffering. Placing his palm on the icicle, Wang Sheng began to slowly exhale spiritual energy. He was not like the others, who used their weapons to attack without hesitation. At the very least, Wang Sheng wanted to leave the girl's corpse intact. Kacha! The thin icicle made a cracking sound, and everyone's spirit was shaken. The ice that they had been working hard for the whole day was broken under Wang Sheng's hands. Once the ice was broken, the figure inside could no longer maintain a standing posture and softly fell into Wang Sheng's arms. Wang Sheng's left arm wrapped around the still somewhat cold body, and his right hand was already slowly holding the Tiger Fong military knife, moving towards the girl's chest. Wait! The knife was already at the girl's chest, but someone suddenly shouted. Chapter 14:11. Everyone was stunned. At a time like this, if they didn't let Wang Sheng finish off this seemingly weak and peerless expert with a single slash, when would they be able to? Who was it? Everyone's eyes turned to look at him. They didn't need to look to know that it was the leader of the Shi clan. He was also the one who had attacked the thin layer of ice and was sent flying. The Shi clan leader's expression didn't change. He just explained to Wang Sheng, "Duke Changsheng, please wait. I just want to ask her a question." As soon as he said this, Wang Sheng's eyes flashed and a strong, murderous intent surged in his heart. Why did Wang Sheng insist on killing the girl in his dreams? Because of this, he was most afraid that after the girl in his dreams was unsealed, she would be tortured by all the great clans in order to extract cultivation secrets from her. Wang Sheng didn't even have the time to see what the girl in his arms looked like. He just hugged her tightly in his arms and supported himself from falling. The girl's body was unusually cold, as if there wasn't any heat. This was understandable. Anyone who had been frozen here for 500 years wouldn't feel warm. It was normal for her to be cold. Wang Sheng didn't dare to look into the girl's eyes, afraid that he would soften and not be able to do it. But now, the Shi clan had jumped out to touch Wang Sheng's reverse scale. Did they really think Wang Sheng wouldn't dare to kill them? Murderous intent almost burst out of him. In an instant, the Shi clan leader felt a sharp chill. It wasn't just the Shi clan leader. Everyone else was shocked by Wang Sheng's sudden murderous intent. However, the others didn't think there was anything wrong with Wang Sheng's anger. Everyone agreed to let Wang Sheng kill that peerless expert after the seal was undone. What was the meaning of the Shi clan members jumping out to ask questions? Could it be that he wanted to ask how the peerless experts of the past cultivated? As soon as Wang Sheng released his murderous intent, the cold body of the girl in his arms suddenly trembled. It was as if the murderous intent was the key to awakening her. Others might not be able to sense it, but Wang Sheng was currently hugging the girl in his dreams tightly. How could he not feel it? "Wang Sheng, did you listen to some senseless guy and want to kill me?" A familiar voice rang out in Wang Sheng's arms. Wang Sheng couldn't believe his ears. The voice of the girl in his dream, the voice that he had heard countless times in his dreams, the voice that had haunted his dreams, was actually ringing in his ears at this moment. Not only was Wang Sheng stunned, but the people from the 8 great clans were also stunned. An expert who had been frozen for 500 years and had just been unfrozen from the ice pillar could speak in just a few sentences? How is this possible? Wait a minute. What did she just say? Chapter 14:12. In such a situation, the girl in the dream might not be able to hold on, even if no one killed her. 500 years of freezing and unfreezing was not something an ordinary person could endure. On Earth, without a highly skilled professional hospital and a large number of medical staff, this kind of rapid freezing and unfreezing could never be successfully completed. In fact, when Wang Sheng left Earth, the freezing had already been done. However, Wang Sheng had not heard of many successful cases of unfreezing. For the girl in the dream to be able to persist until now, it was definitely because of her powerful cultivation and a body that was much stronger than on Earth. But even so, it was still not enough. At least for now, she was so weak that she could not hold on any longer. If this situation continued, in a few days, the girl in the dream would slowly die. How could Wang Sheng allow this to happen? He hugged the girl in the dream and slowly channeled some spiritual energy into her, trying to make her feel better. However, what Wang Sheng did not expect was that the moment he channeled a bit of spiritual energy, the girl in the dream shuddered, as if she could not take it anymore. Since I obtained the soaring phoenix cultivation method, it can be considered fate. The girl in the dream shivered and said weakly, "I can tell you." A look of pleasant surprise immediately appeared on the Shi clan's expert's face. He thought that it would take a while, but who would have thought that the girl would tell him the secret of the phoenix origin spirit with the word fate? However, The surprise only lasted for a moment. Suddenly, the master of the Sure clan thought of something. The fact that the Sure clan had the soaring phoenix cultivation method was no longer a secret. If the secret of the phoenix origin spirit was revealed in public, would the Sure clan have peace in the future? 500 years ago, a peerless master from the Lin clan was enough to make the entire world restless. They had no choice but to join forces to destroy the Lin clan. If this girl revealed the secret of the phoenix origin spirit, whether it was true or not, how would the Sure clan live in the future? How would they face the pressure of the other clans? Which clan would allow another master who had the phoenix origin spirit and cultivated the soaring phoenix cultivation method to appear 500 years later? Don't say it. Just as the girl in the dream was about to speak, the master of the Sure clan was smart for once and stopped her in time. This caused the other 7 families who were waiting to hear the secret of the phoenix origin spirit to angrily glare at him, all of them gnashing their teeth in hatred. The one who asked the question was you, the one who wanted to answer, and the one who didn't want to answer was also you. What? Is your Sure family strong enough to command the entire world? Who didn't want to know the secret of the phoenix origin spirit? As long as they knew the secret of the phoenix origin spirit, plus the soaring phoenix cultivation method, they would be able to cultivate the soaring phoenix cultivation method. As for where to find the soaring phoenix heart sutra after knowing about the phoenix origin soul, didn't everyone already know that the soaring phoenix heart sutra was in the Sure family? With just that one sentence, the girl in the dream was already panting weakly. As long as one wasn't blind or deaf, one would be able to see the poor condition of her body. At that moment, Wang Sheng couldn't care less about anything else. With a flick of his right hand, the tiger fang saber in his hand disappeared and became a syringe. This was one of the 3 life-saving injections Wang Sheng brought to this world. It was sealed and had a 1 to 2 year shelf life. Plus, Wang Sheng had kept it in his storage ring to slow down the effects of time, so it was still useful. Without any hesitation, Wang Sheng stabbed the syringe into the girl's waist and buttocks. Then, he slowly injected the syringe into the girl's body. In the current situation, the body of the girl in the dream couldn't be any worse. He could only use this expedient method and think of a solution after he got out. No one had expected Wang Sheng to act so quickly, nor did they know what the syringe in his hand was. All they could do was stare blankly at Wang Sheng's actions. No one was able to stop him in time. Of course, other than the Sure clan, the other 7 clans didn't think of stopping him. It would be best if the girl could tell them everything they wanted to know. Listen carefully. After the needle was inserted, the body of the girl in the dream began to warm up. She also spoke more fluently. The phoenix origin soul is simple and not mysterious. It's actually the most common and mediocre sparrow origin soul. After saying that, she seemed to be tired again. She stopped and panted slowly. At this moment, Wang Sheng tried to inject some spiritual energy into the girl's body. At the same time, he fed the girl some water and rehydration salt solution. Although the girl in the dream had been frozen and thawed, and her body was slightly different from a person who hadn't eaten or drank for a few days, it was still necessary to replenish some electrolytes in such a weak state. The phoenix origin soul was that simple. It was the most mediocre sparrow origin soul. Everyone, including the Sure clan, began to ponder. They wondered if the girl knew that the situation was not good, so she used a confusing answer to deceive everyone. Only Song Yin knew that the girl in the dream was telling the truth. It was because Wang Sheng's origin soul was also a mediocre carp. But now, Wang Sheng was a legendary master. Her own origin soul was a 6-star frost turtle. But according to Wang Sheng's instructions, it could eventually turn into the legendary black tortoise. Wang Sheng could do it, so could Song Yin. Why couldn't the Lin clan's master, who was obviously very familiar with Wang Sheng, turn into a phoenix? It seemed that there was a need to negotiate with the Sure clan after this. The girl in the dream was in a better condition. At least she didn't reject the spiritual energy Wang Sheng injected into her. She could slowly absorb it. But Wang Sheng also knew that things weren't that optimistic. This was only part of the effect of the injection. for her to fully recover. Who knew how long it would take to recuperate? While everyone was pondering about the Phoenix origin soul, Wang Sheng was also looking around, looking for a way to leave. But the 16 of them had surrounded Wang Sheng and the girl in his dream tightly, and there were several hundreds of ninth-stage realm top exponents below, so it wasn't an easy task for them to leave. "Duke, do you not intend to continue fulfilling your responsibilities?" Song Yin suddenly interrupted everyone's thoughts with a long sigh and asked Wang Sheng. Wang Sheng's responsibility was naturally to kill the girl in the dream. But the situation had obviously changed. You heard it too. It wasn't her idea. Wang Sheng hugged the girl in the dream tightly, as if he was protecting her. He replied to Song Yin and then added an apology. "Sorry. If she lives, we must die." Song Yin squeezed out an ugly smile and said the cruel truth. "Are you sure you want to do this?" Chapter 14:13. Song Yan's words woke everyone up from their contemplation, and they instantly understood the situation in front of them. Originally, Wang Sheng was on the same side as everyone. Everyone had the same goal, which was to kill the peerless expert who was sealed away. Because of this, even if the families had some irreconcilable hatred with Wang Sheng, they had forcefully suppressed it and cooperated to face the enemy together first. However, everything that had happened just now had happened in front of everyone's eyes. Everyone could see and hear it. From the moment that woman came out of the ice pillar, with just one sentence, Wang Sheng had changed from wanting to kill that woman to wanting to protect her. This change in position was definitely comparable to a change in attitude. Between the Lin family and the 8 great families, Song Yin naturally stood on the side of the 8 great families. No matter what internal conflicts there were among the 8 great families, when facing the Lin family, their attitude would definitely be the same. There would not be any accidents. The 8 great families and the Lin family had an irreconcilable hatred for each other. Unless one side was completely wiped out, there was no way to resolve it. At this moment, Song Yin was very sad. She had been friends with Wang Sheng for such a long time, had been together for such a long time, and had so many entanglements. But Wang Sheng had only said one sentence to the woman in his arms, and Wang Sheng had stood against her. Wasn't Wang Sheng too heartless? What a heartless person. The other experts were awakened by Song Yan's words, and then they all broke out in a cold sweat. This peerless expert of the Lin family was indeed an expert, playing with people's hearts to perfection. Just a few words, and they had all kinds of thoughts in their heads, almost forgetting what they had originally wanted to do. Everyone from the 8 great families secretly became vigilant. In reality, the peerless expert of the Lin family had only said one sentence to cause a rift between everyone and the Sure family. Regardless of whether the Phoenix origin spirit was true or not, the soaring Phoenix cultivation method had already been firmly planted on the Sure family by a few words from her. The Sure family had no way of distinguishing, nor could they clearly tell. At the very least, the Gan family and Wang Sheng had participated in the excavation and distribution of the treasures. Back then, when the Grand Elder of the Sure family directly requested to be the first to pick, everyone had experienced it. If the Sure family said that they didn't have the Flying Phoenix mantra, no one would believe it. This matter could only be discussed after this matter was settled. Right now, the most important thing was to kill this peerless expert of the Lin family. "I won't let her die." Wang Sheng let out a long sigh, once again giving Song Yin the answer she had not expected. "Then we will become enemies." At some point, Song Yan's eyes had become misty. She looked at Wang Sheng, gritted her teeth, and said with determination, "Sorry." Even Wang Sheng felt guilty when he saw Song Yan's eyes, which were filled with confusion, grievance, regret, and anger. At this moment, he could only apologize to Song Yan. He couldn't say anything else. "Chi." Just as Wang Sheng finished speaking, the sound of something cutting through the air rang out. 3 rays of white light shot out from the Dai family head's hands, shooting directly at Wang Sheng and the girl in Wang Sheng's arms. Anyone could see that the girl in the dream was extremely weak. If not for Wang Sheng holding her, she wouldn't even have the strength to stand up. Once they made their move, it would be almost foolproof. Of the 3 rays of white light, 2 were shot at Wang Sheng. Moreover, they were shot at Wang Sheng's vitals. If Wang Sheng didn't care, there would only be one outcome for him, death. If Wang Sheng tried to block them himself, then the girl in his arms would be exposed. The 3rd ray of white light was shot at the Lin family's peerless expert, who was currently the weakest. As expected, Wang Sheng's reaction was as Dai family head had predicted. He had no choice but to use one hand to block the 2 flying daggers which were shot toward his throat and eyes. Naturally, the girl in the dream who was hugging with one hand was also exposed to the 3rd flying dagger. But Wang Sheng still hugged the girl and tried his best to turn around, trying his best to use his body to block the 3rd flying dagger. Wang Sheng was wearing a diving suit made from the skin of a 14-stage realm super sperm whale. On the outside, there was a liquid bulletproof vest, and the outermost layer was an ordinary protective suit made from the skin of an 8th-stage realm demonic beast. Blocking this attack wasn't a problem at all. The others stood there without moving as they watched Dai family head's attack. Everyone was an intelligent person, and they knew that there were some things that wouldn't be beneficial just by being the first to appear. So they had to look at the situation first. If everything was going well, then they would naturally attack the drowning dog. But if there were any changes, then Dai family would have to bear the consequences first. 2 clanging sounds were heard. Wang Sheng's Tiger Fong army knife had accurately blocked the 2 flying daggers which were shot toward his throat and eyes, giving off 2 crisp sounds. But the 3rd flying dagger, which Wang Sheng had expected to hit his back, didn't hit Wang Sheng's body at all. Wang Sheng's back was facing the flying dagger, so he couldn't see it clearly and could only use his spiritual qi to sense where the flying dagger came from. But those people who were facing the direction of Wang Sheng's back could see it clearly. Just as the flying dagger was about to hit Wang Sheng's back, a slender arm appeared out of nowhere. The slender fingers looked slender and exquisite as it gently and accurately tapped on the flying dagger. The flying dagger suddenly seemed to have crashed into a soft wall, as it looked slow, but in actual fact it came to a stop very quickly. That fair and delicate finger made a very beautiful and soul-stirring finger flick in front of everyone's eyes, silently flicking the flying dagger that had already stopped. Chi! The flying dagger flew back at a speed several times faster than when it was flying. Before the head of the Dai clan could react, it had already pierced through his throat with ease and flew out from the back of the head of the Dai clan directly into the ice wall behind him. The head of the Dai clan didn't even move to cover his throat. In an instant, his eyes lost their luster and his knees went soft as he knelt on the ground with a bang. Then he laid down neatly. A stream of blood flowed out from his body and dyed a small part of the ice surface red. Then it was immediately frozen, and the bright red was extremely dazzling. The arm which had made this action hung down gently and returned to its incomparably weak state, which seemed as if it would collapse at the slightest touch. From the looks of it, it was so soft that it seemed as if even raising the arm required a lot of strength. If it wasn't for the fact that everyone in this direction could clearly see the movement of the arm, no one would dare to believe that the reflected flying dagger had something to do with that arm. The scene became abnormally silent. Everyone was watching, but none of them dared to breathe loudly. Under this kind of situation, she was able to instantly kill a 9th-stage realm top exponent with just a raise of her hand. No wonder the ancestors' teachings repeatedly instructed the later generations to be extremely careful. Moreover, they must definitely take the opportunity to kill her. Battle instinct. Tang family's head of the Dai clan remained silent for a moment before he finally called out a term. Everyone was shocked when they heard that. Chapter 1414. In the ancient records left behind by the ancestors of the 8 great clans, there was a helpless description which said that the Lin family's peerless top exponents had an ability which was termed as battle instinct by the ancestors. No matter how tired that peerless top exponent was, no matter how serious her injuries were, as long as she still had a breath in her body, the moment there was an attack directed at her, it would trigger this instinctive counterattack. And every time she counterattacked, The best outcome would be the person who attacked her being heavily injured, and the number of people who died because of this was more than 100. This wasn't the number of top exponents who died in a normal battle, but when that peerless top exponent was extremely fatigued, and it was the top exponents who had conserved their energy. In the end, they finally realized that no matter what, they had no way to kill this peerless top exponent from the Lin family. Without a choice, they could only use a scheme to lure the peerless top exponent into the sealing array. That woman's current state was actually the state of exhaustion after fighting against the thousands of top exponents from the various large clans. She had just come out of the ice seal, and there was no replenishment at all. Only Wang Sheng had used that transparent tube to prick her, so it was impossible for her to replenish her energy crazily. But in this kind of state, the young lady just stretched out one finger and instantly killed that 9th stage realm manager of Dai family, in a clean and efficient manner without any sloppiness. Just what kind of ferocity was this? The living people from the 8 great clans all drew in a breath of cold air. Facing such an enemy, how could they resist? Song Yin didn't see the girl's face in her dream and didn't know if she was beautiful or ugly. But from the bottom of her heart, Song Yin felt extremely uncomfortable. That heartless man, previously hooked up with Aki in front of her, a 6th-stage realm little killer, wasn't even fit to be her maid or carry her shoes. But now he was actually hugging this woman tightly in front of her. For a moment, the jealousy in Song Yan's heart was about to ignite. But Song Yan was after all still Song Yan. After witnessing the powerful battle power of the girl in her dream, she forcefully suppressed the feelings between a man and a woman and returned to the reality in front of her. From now onwards, we are enemies. Song Yin resisted the urge to cry as she spoke to Wang Sheng in an extremely serious tone. Her eyes were still filled with hope that Wang Sheng would turn back at the last moment. "I'm sorry." Wang Sheng's response to Song Yin was one of utmost sincerity. This was indeed Wang Sheng's fault. Wang Sheng had always told Song Yin that he wanted to kill the girl in his dreams. Up until a few minutes ago, he had been thinking the same thing. However, a single sentence from the girl in his dreams had caused Wang Sheng to change his mind. Song Yin was unable to accept such a drastic change. However, Wang Sheng had no way of explaining things to her. He could only apologize for the time being and talk about it later. As for now, there was only one thing that Wang Sheng wanted to do, and that was to take the girl in his dreams away from here, away from this place surrounded by powerful enemies, and then slowly heal the girl in his dreams. While apologizing, Wang Sheng's hand didn't stop. He directly took out another set of diving suit made of 14th-stage super sperm whale skin from his storage ring and put it on the girl in his dream. The girl in his dream's hair was still loose, and Wang Sheng still had to guard against the people around him. Up until now, he still hadn't seen the girl's face. Although Wang Sheng really wanted to see the beautiful face that had been haunting him in his dreams, Wang Sheng also knew that now wasn't the time. If Song Yin and the rest saw the girl's face in his dreams, her situation in the future would probably be even more difficult. Although she might not care, Wang Sheng had to protect her. This was the instinct of a special elite ace sniper. Protecting a person who didn't show their face was the most basic rule in the VIP protection training, making it impossible for the attacker to determine if the person they were attacking was the person being protected. This was one of the basic training. Wang Sheng applied what he had learned, and it was quite suitable for him to use it now. Hearing Wang Sheng's apology again, Song Yin shut her eyes tightly, and 2 crystal-clear tears fell from the corners of her eyes. When Song Yin opened her eyes again, there was a trace of determination in her eyes. "Everyone," just as Song Yin clenched the sword in her hand and was about to completely end her fight with Wang Sheng spoke first, and his words were directed at everyone. "Believe me, your ancestors couldn't kill her 500 years ago, so you definitely won't be able to kill her now." After everyone's attention was focused on Wang Sheng, he slowly said, "On account of our previous good cooperation, I hope that everyone can make things convenient for me and let me take her away. This way, we won't hurt each other and there won't be any casualties. What do you think?" "Why? The Xia family's head asked, extremely dissatisfied. Even though he was questioning them, his tone was filled with guilt. Wang Sheng was right. According to the Dai family's head's test, they might not be able to kill the girl. Their ancestors' records had already repeatedly warned them to be careful of the girl's battle instincts. How could a mere few hundred of them do something that thousands of their ancestors couldn't do? I just don't want to engage in pointless killing. Wang Sheng smiled and shook his head. If everyone doesn't agree, then I'm sorry, but I can only use my sword to force my way out. We can't kill a peerless expert, but can't we kill you? Another impolite voice sounded. This time, it was the Gan family's head. Sigh. Wang Sheng let out a long sigh, shook his head, and smiled helplessly at everyone. Everyone, have you forgotten that I just advanced to the legendary realm a day ago? Forgive me for being presumptuous, but the strongest among you is only in the late 9th stage. Wang Sheng's words stunned everyone. Only now did they remember that in order to unlock the Ice Pillar seal, they had watched Wang Sheng advance from the peak of the 9th stage to the legendary realm. When Wang Sheng was in the 9th stage, no one was a match for him. Now that he had reached the legendary realm, no one would be a match for him. You've only just advanced. You still don't know. The Song clan's formation master behind Song, Yin, recalled how Wang Sheng had single-handedly killed over a dozen legendary experts. Wasn't Wang Sheng's current situation exactly the same as when he had just advanced? He hurriedly shouted. However, halfway through his shout, he saw Wang Sheng's faint smile and immediately came to a realization. Others might not know how to use the power of the legendary realm, but how could Wang Sheng, who knew it months or even years earlier than them, not know? He didn't finish his sentence and swallowed it back into his stomach. Then he took 2 more steps back. If we don't agree, Song Yin looked straight into Wang Sheng's eyes and asked Wang Sheng seriously, are you planning to kill us and force your way out? Chapter 14:15. Wang Sheng could not bear to see Song Yan's stubborn and resolute gaze. Faced with Song Yan's gaze, Wang Sheng did not dare to look her in the eye. He averted his gaze and sighed. Answer me. Song Yan's voice was already trembling, and her delicate body was trembling along with it. I won't. Wang Sheng sighed again and gave his answer. Everyone was watching. At this moment, they were all convinced that Wang Sheng and Song Yin were an adulterous couple. Otherwise, they would not have witnessed such a melodramatic scene. Wang Sheng's words softened Song Yan's gaze. For a moment, her emotions surged. Thinking about the day she spent with Wang Sheng, Song Yin was speechless. Then how do you plan to leave with her? Song Yin was speechless, but that did not mean that others could not speak. The Tang family's amiable-looking uncle asked in a friendly manner. Yes, his tone was very cordial, just like a benevolent elder in the family asking about their well-being. It was very comfortable to listen to. But if one really understood the Tang family and this expert, they would know that when he was amiable, it was also when he was the most dangerous. I can give you a piece of information that is very important to you in exchange, Wang Sheng said calmly. He seemed to be prepared for this. How important is it? The Tang family's amiable-looking uncle asked kindly. So important that if your family head and great elder find out, they will rush over as fast as they can. Wang Sheng smiled and turned to look at Song Yin. When Song Yin saw his gaze, she turned her head away angrily. When they rush over, they will kneel and kowtow. Wang Sheng felt a little guilty. He turned back and added, of course, it is unknown whether or not your families will fight. At first, when he said that the family head and great elder would rush over as fast as they could, everyone believed him. After all, many of the things that Wang Sheng had done before had already been discussed by the family head, great elder, and the entire elder council as soon as they received the news. Now, it wasn't unreasonable for there to be one more person rushing over at the fastest speed. But Wang Sheng actually said that they would come here as fast as they could and kowtow. Would the various families fight each other? Why? Trying to deceive everyone with this kind of lie wasn't a little too childish? Why should we believe you? The kind and benevolent manager of the Tang family continued to ask. I will use the information in exchange for leaving with her. This is a deal and also a business. With a faint smile, Wang Sheng said conceitedly, I'm not looking down on all of you when it comes to business. But even if all of you here were to join hands, my words wouldn't be as effective as a single sentence from me. You can go outside and ask any businessman to see if this is the result. Everyone was speechless. In fact, they had a deep enough understanding of Wang Sheng. Of course, they knew Wang Sheng's position in the business world. To put it bluntly, with just a word from Wang Sheng, the tens of billions of gold coins in Li Zhanfang could be used by Wang Sheng as he pleased, and he didn't need to care about the usage or where it would go. But what about them? Did the combined wealth of the 8 great families amount to even half of Li Zhanfang's? Numbers were one thing, but they still had the patriarch and the elder council above them. Apart from Song Yin, who else could easily use the entire family's cash reserves? After a moment of silence, the amiable manager of the Tang family asked Wang Sheng, Your information should at least lead us in a direction, right? The true secret of the grounds of thousand despair. Wang Sheng answered without hesitation. Everyone was stunned. The true secret of the grounds of thousand despair? This peerless expert from 500 years ago was actually not the true secret of the grounds of thousand despair. In the ancient records left behind by the ancestors of the various families, there was no mention of other secrets. You can't be thinking that she is the secret of the entire grounds of thousand despair, right? Wang Sheng could tell what everyone was thinking just by looking at their shocked expressions. He couldn't help but laugh. Isn't she the secret? Song Yin was already attracted by Wang Sheng's words. From the depths of her heart, she actually didn't want to fight to the death with Wang Sheng. She couldn't help but ask when Wang Sheng said that there was hope for a peaceful resolution. She isn't. Wang Sheng shook his head resolutely. After thinking about it, he felt that it was inappropriate, so he changed his words, at least not all of it. Hearing Wang Sheng's last sentence, everyone finally understood. That's more like it. If the ceiling formation and the peerless expert from 500 years ago weren't the secret of the grounds of thousand despair, then what else was? How do you prove it? Song Yin stared at Wang Sheng with a complicated look in her eyes. The aura of the grounds of thousand despair. Wang Sheng smiled at Song Yin. It hasn't dissipated yet. You don't know the reason why the spiritual qi in the grounds of thousand despair is so dense. You knew it long ago? Song Yin asked again. Her eyes were filled with anger for being deceived. I only found out recently. Wang Sheng sighed in his heart and explained to Song Yin. Song Yin actually hid things from Wang Sheng. After hearing Wang Sheng's explanation, Song Yin suddenly realized that she couldn't blame Wang Sheng for anything. Wang Sheng wasn't from the Song Kingdom, and he wasn't Song Yan's husband either. What did it matter if he hid things from her? Even if he was her husband, could he be completely honest with her? It was normal to hide things. It would be abnormal if he didn't. Song Yin looked at the Tang clan's leader, then at the Gan clan's leader on her left. The Tang clan's leader smiled at Wang Sheng and said, Lord Duke, please allow us to discuss this. The Dai clan's leader had already died, so the other Dai clan's leader acted as the Dai clan's representative. Afraid that Wang Sheng would hear them, he deliberately used a formation to separate them. He also purposely turned his back to Wang Sheng, afraid that Wang Sheng would read his lips and read them. He was very cautious. The remaining people stared at Wang Sheng nervously, afraid that Wang Sheng would suddenly make things difficult for them. Wang Sheng wasn't as nervous as them. He used this time to replenish the girl in his dreams with some water and liquid food. At the same time, he gave her 2 low-grade qi replenishing pills with extremely gentle medicinal effects. She had just been sealed in ice for 500 years, and her body was extremely weak. After being injected with an injection that stimulated her life potential, she needed nourishment. She couldn't take the strong tonics. Of course, when he fed her, Wang Sheng also saw the girl's lips in his dreams. This was the first time Wang Sheng saw the girl's lips. They were thin and seemed to be pale from excessive blood loss. Anyone who looked at them would instantly feel pity for them. The discussion on the other side didn't seem very peaceful. It seemed like a few people were very agitated and seemed to be arguing. Wang Sheng couldn't be bothered to listen to what they were saying. He just quietly hugged the girl in his dreams and calmly channeled spiritual energy into her, waiting for the results. Chapter 14:16. Some of them are waiting for you to reveal the secret before going back on your words. Just as Wang Sheng was waiting, the girl in the dream leaned against Wang Sheng and suddenly said softly. When Wang Sheng heard the girl in the dream's words, he only smiled and didn't say anything. If he wanted to listen, at such a close distance, the 7 words formula, which was based on the Xing word formula, could easily pass through the soundproof array, and those people's words would sound like they were right beside his ears. But Wang Sheng couldn't be bothered with them. Anyway, he knew what kind of people each large family had. Other than those managers from the 8 large families who were discussing, there were another 6 to 7 people who were monitoring Wang Sheng from outside the soundproof array. They were all 9th-stage realm top exponents, and in such a small space and such a close distance, the girl in the dream's voice couldn't be hidden from their ears. The girl in the dream's words made them extremely embarrassed. Who would have thought that someone could hear them discussing about going back on their words with the soundproof array on? Furthermore, they were discussing in front of other people and being exposed. The few of them instantly blushed in embarrassment and simply didn't have the face to see anyone. But the girl in the dream's valiance made them vigilant once again. Could it be that when one's cultivation had reached a certain level, those ordinary soundproof arrays would be useless against them? The discussion was still going on, but the few top exponents outside were already extremely embarrassed. There was even someone who didn't hesitate to greet them at a place where they could see, asking them to be more careful when they spoke. No matter how awkward the people inside and outside were, after half an hour of meeting, they finally came to a conclusion. Duke, please give us another proof. The one who spoke was still the amiable manager from the Tang family. His face was filled with smiles as he said, "If you can let us see it, we will agree." This time, Wang Sheng couldn't be bothered to speak, only smiling as he raised his head and looked towards a direction. Everyone followed Wang Sheng's gaze as they turned their heads and looked upwards. Following that, they saw the metal cylinder tunnel, which Wang Sheng had left behind the last time he was here. Other than Song Yin, everyone else turned pale with fright. When they entered this frozen space, they only paid attention to the icicle in the middle and the girl in their dreams. How could they have noticed that there was a hidden entrance above? With such a regular cylinder and the visible metal products beside it, everyone understood at a glance that this was proof that Wang Sheng had been here before. Other than Wang Sheng, no one could think of anyone else who could leave this behind. What's up there? Glacier Lake. After the glacier basin melted, the glacier lake was hundreds of meters deep, and it was the deepest part. The masters of the 8 great clans had been searching inside for a few months, but they hadn't even touched the edge. However, Wang Sheng was able to accurately dig a hole into this frozen space. What did this mean? Other than indicating that Wang Sheng had already accurately identified the location of the ice ceiling formation, there was no other possibility. It was impossible for a person to know such an accurate underwater location for no reason, right? No one will believe that Wang Sheng didn't know the secret of the core of the grounds of despair. At this time, the few people outside the soundproof formation told the people inside what the girl in their dreams had said. For a moment, a few of them were extremely embarrassed. Their discussion about harming someone had been heard clearly and even said out loud. It was really embarrassing to the extreme. Fortunately, everyone was thick-skinned. If they weren't, they wouldn't be able to reach the level of a leader. In the face of this slight embarrassment, other than blushing a few times, no one had any intention of moving. Now that Wang Sheng had once again confirmed that he definitely knew the secret of the core of the grounds of despair, it was up to them to let Wang Sheng and the girl in their dreams leave. If we refuse, just as the Tang family leader was about to say this, he was interrupted by Wang Sheng. Although I don't want my hands to be stained with the blood of someone I've known for a few days. Wang Sheng's resolute voice was heard by the crowd, but I am definitely not afraid to do so. If necessary, I don't mind staining my hands with blood. After saying that, he paused for a moment and added, "Anyway, My hands are stained with the blood of the disciples of the 8 great clans. It doesn't matter if it's more or less. This was the truth. It could be said that each of the 8 great clans had disciples who had fallen in the hands of Wang Sheng. No one was a fool. If they really thought that Wang Sheng didn't dare to make a move against the experts of the 8 great clans, they would be naive. The 8 great clans weren't invincible wherever they went. The choice was now in the hands of the 15 people from the 8 great clans. They had to decide whether to use themselves and the hundreds of Ninth Realm experts to fight against Wang Sheng, who was in the Legendary Realm, and the Lin family's peerless expert, who was in a weakened state, or to use the secret of the core of the Grounds of Despair in exchange for the 2 of them leaving. This choice was actually very easy, especially for the 15 people present. Needless to say, Song Yin was actually the one who was most unwilling to become enemies with Wang Sheng. She was already very satisfied with this way of stepping down. At least she wouldn't have to fall out with Wang Sheng directly, right? Song Yin's decision was the Song family's decision. The other families were actually very easy to consider. Every family's leader was actually very loyal to the family. But this didn't mean that they were willing to use their lives to keep Wang Sheng and the girl in their dreams, and then get nothing else. On the contrary, if they let the 2 of them go, they would be able to obtain the true secret of the Grounds of Despair. The ancestors had repeatedly reminded them to kill the girl in their dreams, but what the ancestors couldn't do, could the descendants do? The only person who could kill the girl in their dreams was Wang Sheng. But Wang Sheng had gone back on his word, and Wang Sheng wasn't under their control. What else could they do? But behind this decision, there was an insurmountable barrier. If she's alive, we're dead. Song Yin was still rational. Even if she didn't want to fall out with Wang Sheng now, it didn't mean that she would forget about the real threat of death. 500 years ago, the Lin family and the 8 great clans had been exterminated. If the girl in her dreams left alive, the 8 great clans would really be doomed in the future. This was the only real reason. If Wang Sheng could solve this, what did it matter if the 8 great clans coexisted with Wang Sheng? You can't stop us. Wang Sheng let out another long sigh. He couldn't erase this hatred on behalf of the girl in his dreams, but he really didn't want to start a massacre with Song Yin here. Both sides gripped their weapons tightly. The situation seemed to be on the verge of exploding. The slightest movement could bring about devastating consequences for everyone. Only here, Wang Sheng glanced at Song Yan's eyes and made a prompt decision. He made a compromise. We just need to leave this underground space quietly. You don't have any real experts here anyway. Once we get out, you can hunt us down however you want. Chapter 14:17. But if they left the underground space, there was room for discussion. The leaders exchanged glances again and saw the joy in each other's eyes. As long as they agreed to this condition, they would not have to die. In fact, everyone knew that it was impossible for them to stop Wang Sheng and the peerless expert. If they really fell out here, the only result would be that everyone here would die. It was unknown whether the hundreds of experts below would die. Perhaps some smart people would escape, but as long as they dared to attack, they would definitely die. The best effect would be to exhaust the strength of Wang Sheng and the peerless expert. But what was certain was that they would at most be exhausted, but they would not die. Maybe they would be injured, but that was all. Using the lives of hundreds of ninth-stage realm experts to injure Wang Sheng a little, and then helping the legendary experts waiting outside to kill Wang Sheng and the other peerless experts, achieving a good reputation. Was it worth it to pay such a price? Logically speaking, they were all disciples of the same family. Even if the experts outside killed them, it would be for the sake of the family's reputation. Was there a need to be so clear? But the problem was, first, they had to use their own lives to help others. Secondly, even if they sacrificed their lives, it might not be their own experts, but someone else. With such concerns laid out, the choice was actually quite obvious. As for Song Yin, she did not want to fight with Wang Sheng to this point, but reality forced her to become enemies with Wang Sheng. In this situation, what should Song Yin decide? All the leaders looked at Song Yin. After all, they had said before they came, Song Yin was the leader, and everything would be decided by her. Everyone had a plan in mind, But if Song Yin did not agree, there was nothing they could do. Everyone held their breaths, their hearts hanging in suspense. Everyone could see that Song Yin and Wang Sheng had a special relationship, but everyone knew that when a woman encountered this kind of love affair, she might go crazy. If she really went hysterical, everyone could only grit their teeth and attack together. Song Yan's expression was complicated. Actually, since Wang Sheng changed his decision, Song Yan's feelings were very complicated. She couldn't accept Wang Sheng's sudden change, but now she was powerless to stop Wang Sheng's change. Sometimes, Song Yin really wanted to charge forward and take Wang Sheng down with her, but she couldn't bear to. Facing Wang Sheng, she suddenly realized that she might not be able to do it. Wang Sheng's answer seemed to be the same. Wang Sheng actually didn't want to become mortal enemies with Song Yin. Wang Sheng was also looking at Song Yin, waiting for her decision. Under the gazes of the crowd, Song Yin didn't seem to feel any pressure. She just stared at Wang Sheng. All right. Finally, just when everyone was getting impatient and feeling a little hopeless, Song Yin finally nodded her head in a barely discernible manner and said, "All right." Phew. The sound of a group of people letting out a long breath could be heard clearly. It seemed like the people of the other clans were all relieved. Song Yan's decision was well received. Even Wang Sheng looked at Song Yin with gratitude. The girl in the dream was not in a good condition. She had been fighting for a long time, and with her terrifying battle instincts, she might not die, but she would be greatly exhausted. After injecting the injection to stimulate one's life potential, one could only slowly recover. This was especially true in the early stages, when one's physical condition would improve greatly. If the treatment was done properly, there would not be any side effects in the future. However, if the consumption was too great, Wang Sheng would have no choice but to use the last injection. If that really happened, the girl in the dream wouldn't have much hope. This world didn't have the medical facilities on Earth. No matter how strong the girl in the dream was, only death would await her. Wang Sheng didn't want to let the girl in the dream die, when she didn't want to die after he had worked so hard to rescue her from the ceiling formation. This agreement, to put it bluntly, was for Wang Sheng to buy some time for himself and the girl in the dream, so that the girl in the dream could get sufficient rest and nourishment when she needed it most. Now that Song Yin had nodded and the other families had no objections, it could be said that everyone had reached an agreement. Wang Sheng would use the secret of the core of the grounds of Thousand Despair in exchange for their safe departure from the underground space. Wang Sheng knew that Song Yin had left him some leeway. Otherwise, based on Song Yan's understanding of him, all she had to do was delay Wang Sheng so that the girl in the dream wouldn't have enough time to recover. They wouldn't have suffered heavy losses, and the outcome would have been completely different. What is the secret? The Gan family's leader asked hurriedly after Song Yin nodded. Wang Sheng shook his head with a smile. What a joke. If he told them the secret now, wouldn't they turn on him? When they had been discussing, some of them had wanted to turn on Wang Sheng the moment he told them the secret. I will tell you when I leave this place safely, Luo Yunyang said. Wang Sheng spoke his mind before the other party could react. Looking at the leader of the Gan family, Wang Sheng added bluntly, "To be honest, I just don't trust you." The Gan family's leader's face turned red, but he couldn't say a word. He had been the one to go back on his word during the discussion. Now that Wang Sheng had exposed his old wounds, it would be strange if he didn't feel ashamed. How would he plan to leave? Song Yin was very rational. She realized that she had never been so rational before. When she asked Wang Sheng, her tone was very calm. As Song Yin asked the question, she made a gesture behind her back. The Song family's formation master was behind her. When he saw this gesture, he took out a formation stone and activated it without hesitation. Boom! A strong aura surged through the entire frozen space. However, this aura didn't have any offensive properties. It only formed a huge spiritual energy shockwave that spread out. Not only did the shockwave penetrate through the passageway below, it also served as a warning to all the experts below. It even traveled along the cylinder that Wang Sheng had left behind when he came in and reached the surface of the ice. Then, it passed through the deep lake water and reached the surface of the lake. The battle consciousness minion's senses told Wang Sheng that the entire glacier lake seemed to have been shaken by this spiritual energy shockwave. Such a huge commotion must have been felt by the people above. In other words, the agreed message had already been sent out, and Wang Sheng couldn't stop it at all. Wang Sheng firmly believed that the message represented by this shockwave was for the people above to kill him the moment they met. This was also in line with the agreement between the two sides. All Wang Sheng wanted was to leave the underground tunnel safely. As long as he left, the legend rank experts outside would chase after the two of them at all costs. If we can leave, then leave. If we can't, then we'll kill them. Wang Sheng let out a long sigh. Since things had come to this, he could only take one step at a time. The most important thing now was to leave with the girl in his dreams so that she could recover for a while. Chapter 14:18. In front of everyone, Wang Sheng carried the girl in his dreams onto his back. He even used a tough piece of demon bee skin to tie it firmly to his body. Wang Sheng tied it very carefully and with great care. The tightness was just right. He wouldn't make the girl feel uncomfortable, nor would he let her hinder his movements. Who knew if these people would turn on him along the way? Wang Sheng wasn't stupid enough to place his life and the girl's life in the hands of these people. As Wang Sheng was carefully tying up the girl in his dreams, everyone else watched in a daze. Song Yan's eyes were empty. No one knew what she was thinking. Even if she had any other thoughts, it was too late. The news had already been sent out. As long as Wang Sheng revealed the secret, the battle would begin and a massacre would begin. Actually, everyone was well aware of this point. They watched quietly, not saying anything, not interfering, and not helping, all the way until Wang Sheng was done with his preparations. First, two experts went down to inform the experts below. Then, Wang Sheng went down with the girl on his back. Finally, Song Yan led the others down into the lava lake. Because of the frost, the place where everyone was standing had already turned into a large piece of hardened volcanic rock. Everyone had been living very comfortably these few days. They didn't have to stay on the edge of the small stone pillar. Seeing Wang Sheng carrying the girl of his dreams on his back, countless people's gazes immediately focused on the girl on his back. When did this girl appear? Why didn't they see her on the way here? Why was she on Wang Sheng's back? What did she look like? Everyone was filled with curiosity. Even though there were many questions in their hearts, these experts were still very disciplined. Under Song Yan's orders, they opened up a path for Wang Sheng and the girl to leave. However, many people could already see that the relationship between Wang Sheng and Song Yan and the other higher-ups was clearly different. The smarter ones had already gripped their weapons tightly. As soon as the leaders gave the order, they would attack Wang Sheng and the girl. However, the leaders waited until Wang Sheng walked to the edge of the volcanic rock covered in frost. None of them gave the order. They just watched as Wang Sheng walked to the periphery. "Aki!" Wang Sheng shouted at the empty lava lake. "Go towards the exit." Hearing Wang Sheng shout, everyone was stunned. Only then did Song Yan remember that there was an uncontrollable Aki here. Thinking of what Wang Sheng had said before, that he had asked Aki to find the real exit, she couldn't help but grit her teeth. This heartless person must have thought of this long ago. He even had an escape route. He had asked Aki to find it when he entered. Right now, Wang Sheng couldn't care less about Song Yan's thoughts. All his energy was focused on guarding against a sudden attack and looking for Aki. The 7-word formula of the 9 symbolic words was activated to the extreme by Wang Sheng. Wang Sheng could clearly sense the movements within a radius of 300 feet in the underground space. Soon, Wang Sheng sensed the subtle movements of someone moving quickly in a certain direction. At this time, who else could it be other than Aki, who was drifting away from the group? Without hesitation, Wang Sheng ran in that direction. As he ran, Wang Sheng didn't forget to take out the parts of the snowmobile and reassemble them along the way. The people from the 8 great clans caught up in a flash. But they didn't dare to be like Wang Sheng, who ran all the way into magma. Instead, they skillfully stopped at the side of those stone pillars to rest for a while to cool down before continuing their chase. After running for 200 over meters, Wang Sheng had already assembled the snowmobile. Without a second word, he jumped onto the snowmobile and sped forward, chasing after Aki's traces. At this moment, Wang Sheng needed to conserve his energy in order to deal with the possible pursuit. For something like the snowmobile, if it was exposed, then it was exposed. He couldn't care too much. Seeing Wang Sheng riding on a strange thing and escaping from the group's pursuit, the people behind were all stunned. What was that? How could he run so fast? And on a magma? How did he do it? But although the snowmobile's speed was fast, but compared to these ninth-degree realm top exponents sprinting, it wasn't enough to leave them far behind. In just a short while, those top exponents had caught up. Within their field of vision, they followed closely behind the snowmobile, unhurriedly pursuing. Wang Sheng finally discovered the benefits of advancing to the wind, defying transformation. Just as Wang Sheng had expected, Wang Sheng's sense of balance was not just a little bit strong. Even if he was carrying the girl in his dreams, in that kind of solid ice tunnel, Wang Sheng also discovered that his footsteps were absolutely stable, without any worry of losing his balance. Wang Sheng in his mind would automatically balance Wang Sheng's own weight and the girl in his dreams' weight, controlling his center of gravity firmly. Even if he was traversing through the magma at high speed, he didn't need to worry about losing his front hooves. As for his vision, it was even more valiant. Although the magma lake emitted a faint red glow, which was enough for a ninth-degree realm top exponent to see clearly. But in Wang Sheng's eyes, it was no longer a faint light, but a scene in the middle of the day. What was even more amazing was that Wang Sheng could see some things which he could not imagine in the past. Even without the faint red glow from the magma, in the pure darkness, Wang Sheng could still see the road clearly. It was indeed night vision ability. Moreover, in the midst of movement, he totally couldn't feel the sense of movement from his vision. Everything was exceptionally clear, and the high-speed movement didn't affect Wang Sheng's vision in the slightest. As for ordinary people, under the condition of high speed, being able to see half of their original vision clearly was already considered good vision. The snowmobile dashed out for less than 10 miles when Wang Sheng saw a speeding figure, and from afar, he could see the figure clearly. It was Aki. "Aki, come up!" Wang Sheng shouted at Aki, and the speeding Aki immediately stopped under a stone pillar, waiting for Wang Sheng's snowmobile to dash over, and without a second word, she jumped over. Wang Sheng caught Aki in midair and placed her in front of him, letting Aki lean on his arms, and at the same time, he didn't forget to instruct, "Point the way." Aki didn't say any nonsense and immediately started to point Wang Sheng towards a certain direction. After dashing out for another 20 over miles, they had already reached the edge of the magma lake. Without Aki's detailed guidance, Wang Sheng had already seen a big hole which was enough for two people to walk side by side. As expected, Aki did not let Wang Sheng down. In the past few days, he had successfully found the normal entrance and exit. Aki took the lead and jumped into the hole. Not far from the hole, Wang Sheng began to quickly dismantle the snowmobile and put it back into his storage ring. In just a short while, Song Yin and the others had already caught up, panting. "Lord Duke, what about the secret you promised us?" The Tang family's master was out of breath after running for dozens of miles over the magma lake. Just the temperature alone was unbearable. He was sweating profusely as he asked. "You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.